Question number 1, English. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rule you'll need for this particular problem. The rule is called the Mr. Chung rule. Quick overview. Here is a person named Mr. Chung. Notice that Mr. Chung has eyes, which are 2 dashes. His nose is 2 commas, which is a comma splice. And his mouth is 2 brackets or parentheses. His chin looks like a W. Notice that what's between his eyes, or what's between the 2 dashes, is known as non-essential information. It's a parenthetical statement. That same thing can be applied to a comma splice. What's between 2 commas is extra non-essential information. Also, what's between the 2 brackets is non-essential information. So, when you see something like 2 commas, 2 brackets, or 2 dashes, simply take your pen or pencil, go ahead and cross out what is in between the commas. In this particular case, we see some commas. If you look over here, we'll read from the beginning of the sentence all the way up to the first comma. Let's go ahead and check answer choice C. That means that there is a comma here and a comma after women. Let's go right over here and we are going to cross it out. That means if we read from the first part all the way up to the end of the sentence, it should still make sense. Murashiki Shikubu was born in Kyoto, Japan around AD 973. It's still a sentence, so therefore it will be used correctly. Double commas, comma splice, using the Mr. Chung rule. (68A) English, question number 2. In this particular problem, we'll use several different rules here. Let's go ahead and get started with the easiest, most common question type that is on ACT English. It's called the razor blade rule. Razor blade says simple is best. If you look over here at problem number 2, we will start reading from the beginning of the sentence, starting with the word like, all the way down here to the bottom and ending at the period after the word writing. You go ahead and take a look at answer choice G. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 words. When you read that, you see that that's the longest answer choice by far, and it will be crossed out because it's just flat out too long. Using this same theory, the razor blade rule, we'll come over here and check answer choice J. When you plug in answer choice J, you see that it sounds weird when you read from the beginning to the end of the sentence. Make sure you do that. Don't just assume that J is correct just because it's the shortest. Let's move on to the next rule. The next rule is called the who versus whom rule. It's quite easy if you remember this particular thing. The M's go together. You have who and whom, and you have him and her. Notice that when you have the word whom, there's an M at the end, and when you have the word him, there's an M there. The M's will go together. Whenever you use the word him, you'll use the word whom. The female version of him is her. Anything else, anyone else, any other place, person, or he or she is always going to use the word who. When you come back to read the beginning of the sentence, you see that we're talking about ladies. Ladies are people, and therefore you will use the word who. That will lead you to the correct answer choice of answer choice F, no change. Answer choice H is incorrect because we're going to use the word which. If you remember up here, Mr. Chung, his chin is a W, which reminds us of the word which. The word which has to be between the comma splice. If you look over here, there is no comma splice. There is only 1 comma here, and therefore the word which cannot be used. So F will be the correct answer for problem 2. 68A, English, question number 3. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll use several techniques here. The first one we'll use is use your ears. Remember, when you use your ears, you read it, basically plug in the answer choices and read from the beginning of the sentence, starting with the word however, all the way down to the end of the sentence where the period is at the word time. Make sure that you read from the beginning to the end and see how it sounds. Let's go ahead and try it. However, her writing was not limited to the traditional poetry was expected of cultured women of that time. To me, that flat out just sounds weird. Using your ears, you can cross out answer choice A right away. Let's have you try the rest of the answer choices on your own. Answer choice D for sure is wrong. When you read it, it sounds weird. The other thing that you can notice is answer choice D has the word that. In this sentence, when we read from the beginning all the way to the end, you see that the word that is repeated twice. Razor blade violation, get it out of there. The second rule that we're going to use is the tense rule. That means the tense of this particular sentence has to match the tense of the answer choices. When you come over here, you see the word limited. Limited means it's already done. ED is past tense. So that means the correct answer has to be past tense. If you look at answer choice C, it says expecting. Expecting, ing, means you're doing it right now continually. The tense here, ing, and limited do not match. Therefore, C can be crossed out using the tense rule. B will be the correct answer. And if you notice, B has an ed at the end, which matches the tense in the sentence. There you have it. Problem number 3. (68A) English, practice problem number 4. Practice problem number 4, you are going to use your ears and also look and kind of decipher the sentence here. Let's go ahead and get started and show you what I did here. The tale of Genji, which not only is still read today, blank, has been called the world's first greatest novel. I saw the word not only. Not only means that there's something else. So what are we going to do? What is that something else? That something else is also. Practice problem number 4. (68A) English, practice problem number 5. In practice problem number 5, we'll use a double technique here, razor blade and structural clues. Let's go ahead and start off with the structural clues problem. Structural clues, basically, quick review here, is we're going to have a sentence in a little secret box here. We're going to have one of those words that we've designated as structural clues. Remember, quick review. But yet, however, on the other hand, although those words. And we're going to categorize those words as either together for T or O for opposite. Together would either be something like positive, positive, or negative, negative, and opposite would be plus, minus, or the opposite, minus, plus. All right, here's the trick. The structural clue is already given to us in the sentence, the word but. Let's go ahead and throw it in the box, but. That means that what's before the word but and what's after the word but have to be opposite. Let's go ahead and check and make sure that I'm not giving you bad information. Little is known about the events of her life. That sounds kind of negative. And then the second part, scholars speculate that she began writing fiction before she was working with the princess. Okay, so it sounds like she's been writing fiction for a long time. That sounds positive. See how this part of the sentence and this part of the sentence are going to be opposite, negative and positive. Now, if you look at the underlined portion, In problem number 5, you have another structural clue, although, which means opposite as well. So wait, how can you have a sentence that's opposite and then go opposite again? That's a double opposite. So that is not going to work. Cross it out. Answer choice B says while little. The word while is a structural clue that will mean opposite. Once again, double opposite. That doesn't make any sense. That's out. And answer choice C says even though. That means opposite as well. It's basically the same thing as A. Therefore, the correct answer is D. Now, kids, take a look real close here. D is the shortest choice, razor blade. C is the longest one. That's the first one that you should cut out. Razor blade says simple is best. You don't need all this long fancy stuff here. Answer choice A through C, razor blade as well. However, structural clues are important, and you do have to take the time to analyze both parts of the sentence. There you have it. Structural clues along with (68A) English practice problem number 6. Practice problem number 6 is formula B, and it's asking you to emphasize the limited knowledge that the scholars had about this lady. So if you look over here, it's kind of a vocabulary type of a thing. It says little is known about the events of this particular lady Murasaki and her fictional writing. So what we want to do is we want to emphasize. You'll see this all over the place. I call them formula B. Basically, it's a vocabulary word. The word is apparently. Apparently, she completed most of her stories, blah, 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 while serving with the Empress. Apparently means you're not quite sure, but you kind of think that you're sure. Apparently. If you look over here, the other way you could get rid of some of this stuff is instead is a structural clue that means opposite. Well, remember from the previous problem, problem number 5, we saw that we have the word but up here, and that is a structural clue that will mean opposite. So you're not going to use a double opposite. And also, on the other hand, is a structural clue that means opposite, and likewise another structural clue that means opposite. So you have the word but already, so you're not going to need J, you're not going to need H, and you're not going to use F because those are structural clues that mean opposite already, but we have the word but. There you have it. Formula B, emphasize. Let's practice problem number 6. (68A) English practice problem number 7. In practice problem number 7, we're going to use the tense rule. The tense rule states this: the underlined portion must match the tense of the rest of the sentence. The trick here, kids, is this: make sure you flip back all the way to page 2 and read from the beginning of the sentence to the end. Second thing is to keep in mind they try and trick you. They use, in problem number 6, the correct answer will be apparently. So make sure that you take this word and you plug it in here, and don't use that because that will make the sentence sound weird. Let's go ahead and do that. Apparently, she completed most of the stories of the life of Genji while both serving the Empress and blank the activities and attitudes of court society. So the tense of the sentence here is this. We have the word serving, which is a verb, and then right here we have activities, which is present tense, and we have attitudes, which is also present tense, and we're going to have this match that. So the correct answer, present, present. The only answer choice in there is answer choice D, present tense. Here, the word was is past tense, ed is past tense, and in answer choice A, no change, observed with an ed, remember that is past tense as well. Don't forget, turn all the way back to page 2, read from the beginning of the sentence, and make the tenses match. (68A) practice problem number 8. We're going to use several things here. We're going to use Formula A, review how to write a paragraph, and also use the Mr. Chung rule. Let's go ahead and take a look at practice problem number 8. 8 states, if the writer were to delete the underlined portion, the paragraph would primarily lose. We find that number 8 is right here, and we also notice that the first sentence there is called a topic sentence. Remember, quick review, topic sentence in the top and details below that will support the topic sentence. The second thing is we notice after the word book there's a comma, and after the word century there's a comma. Reminds me of Mr. Chung. Mr. Chung, eyes, nose, and a mouth. Eyes are dashes, nose, commas, and mouth are brackets. What's between the brackets, the commas, and the dashes are all the same thing. It's called non-essential information. So what you can do, you can go ahead and cross out what's between the dashes, the commas, or the parentheses. In this particular case, we theoretically could cross out everything between the comma splice or Mr. Chung's nose. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of all of it, which taken place over 3/4 of a century. That is extra information. Now, if we read the sentence, if it's used correctly, it should stand alone. The 54-chapter book describes the life and love of the Prince of Genji and the lives of the 3 children and grandchildren. That still works. So that means that what comes after the comma is extra non-essential information about what? About the main subject. The main subject is the book. So when you come over here, if you were going to delete this, you're going to delete explicit information about a book. Let's go ahead and look at the answer choices and see which one talks about extra non-essential information about the book. F says a detailed description of the setting. No, remember we're looking for the book. Answer choice G says a sense of the length of time the book's event spans. And here it is, 3/4 of a century. G is the correct answer on that one. It's 3 for 1 on that one. A quick review of how to write a paragraph, Mr. Chung, and also Formula B. (68A) English practice problem number 9. Practice problem number 9 is located right here. We're going to have to go ahead and read from the beginning of the sentence, which starts up here, all the way to the end. Let's go ahead and do that and see what they're talking about. Remember, this is a parenthetical statement using Mr. Chung. It's non-essential. We crossed it out in practice problem number 8. So we can read from the beginning. It says, the 54-chapter book That's extra information about the book, so we can leave it out. 54 chapter book describes the life and love of a prince, Genji, and the lives of blank children and grandchildren. I want to know whose children and whose grandchildren they are referring to. In this particular case, they're talking about the prince. So how do you refer to a prince? You use the word his. Let's do a quick review. There is a place. Our is plural people. And answer choice D says razor blade. That means you'd have to read from the beginning of the sentence all the way to the end of the sentence and see what it sounds like. Now, some kids might have gotten this wrong because they used answer choice D. And I'll be honest, it's kind of a tricky problem. The best way, if you got problem 9 incorrect and you chose D because you deleted the underlined portion, the best way to solve this problem is to use Mr. Chung. Mr. Chung says this: if you see commas, 2 sets of commas, for example, right here, after book, and right here after century, get that out of there. It makes the sentence shorter and so much easier to read. Now let's go ahead and try it if you got 9 wrong. The 54 chapter book describes the life and love of Prince Genji and the lives of children and grandchildren. No, it's talking about the prince. So you can't just talk about any children and any other grandchildren. You have to relate those back to the prince. There you have it. It's problem number 9, C. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 10. It's a tricky problem here, so let's go ahead and take a look at this carefully. Problem 10, it looks like we have a bunch of commas and we have to resolve the comma issue. There's a comma after written here, so be aware of that. And then in the answer choices, we see that there are commas here after years, after thousand, after since, and answer choice F says no comma. Let's go ahead and start looking at this. Mr. Chung. If we were to choose answer choice G, G does work. But you cannot use this because it's essential information. Let's go ahead and look at this a little closer here. I actually was rushing through and got this one wrong because I was being sloppy. Sorry, kids, just being honest. Here is what I did. I came over here and I said, answer choice G, there's a comma after the word years. So let's go ahead and put it in here in the sentence so you can see it. That means this is a comma splice, Mr. Chung, his nose. There's a comma after years, and there's a comma after written. So theoretically, when there's 2 commas, you can cross out what's between the commas, read from the beginning to the end, and see if it still makes sense. If it does, that would be used correctly. Let's try it. In more than 1,000 years, it has been translated into over 30 languages and has appeared in a variety of formats. Alright, still is a complete sentence. However, it is not a good sentence because, first of all, we are using the subject it. It is a hazy pronoun. We don't know what it refers to. In the more than 1,000 years, it has been translated. What is it? I don't know. So that means what's between here, that comma splice, is essential information because you need to know that it is referring to the tale of Genji. So that is why Mr. Chung will not work in this particular case. Close, but no cigar. Then, once you get that squared away and straightened out, it's a simple Gibbs problem. Read to the comma and then stop. Let's take a look at answer choice H. There's a comma after the word thousand, means we read from the beginning of the beginning of the sentence to the comma and see how that sounds. Is that enough information? Remember, Gibbs, read to the comma and stop. In more than 1,000, more than 1,000 what? You don't know, it's not enough information. H is out. Answer choice J, read to the comma and stop at the word since. In more than 1,000 years since what? That violates Gibbs as well. G is out. Close, but no cigar because of Mr. Chung. And H and J, very simple Gibbs problem. There you have it. It's practice problem number 10. Be careful, Thomas. Test 68A, question number 11. In question number 11, we're going to use two rules. We'll do a quick review of the dot comma, and then we will jump on in, look at the format of the sentence, and then use a little bit of Gibbs. Let's do a quick review of a dot comma. Dot comma states this. It's a banana and an orange, and a banana and orange are both related because they're fruits. So you're going to have a sentence and a sentence, and they're going to both be related because they'll be two specifics of the same general category. When you come over here, you see that we have a dot comma here. That means that from here to the dot comma will be a complete sentence. Let's go ahead and check, make sure. In the 12th century, the tale was illustrated with pictures and scrolls. That is a complete sentence. The main thing they're talking about is the 12th century. Now, the second part of the sentence. In the 17th century, books of wooden block prints based on the tale blank produced. All right. So the second part is the 17th century. So on the left we have the 12th century, and on the right we have the 17th century. Both are complete sentences and both are related because they talk about certain time spans. Quick review of the dot comma. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the form of this. If you look here in the very beginning of the sentence, it is a comma after the word century here. Then we go to the second part. Then over here we see it's the 17th century. So we're going to need a comma here to make sure that this sentence has the same format. It's going to be small part, comma, another part, dot comma, and then after that it will be another part, comma, and then the rest of the sentence in a period. You see that? It's the same exact thing in the top as it is in the bottom. The second way you could do this is you come over here, you could check and see, answer choices B, C, and D, and check for Gibbs to see if Gibbs violates. Now remember, the trick on this one is this. Get rid of all of this because this is actually a complete sentence. So when you correct this, you start reading here using Gibbs with the word in. In the 17th century, books of wooden print blocks were produced, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That will lead you to the correct answer choice for problem number 11 as being A. Test 68A English, practice problem number 12. Practice problem number 12, we'll do a quick review of the tense rule. You're going to make the underlined portion here match the rest of the tense of the sentence. If you know it's a tense rule because it says in the answer choices words like is, were, are, and no change is the word was. Quick review. Is, it's present tense. It means singular present. are is also present, it means plural. We are, he is. Answer choice H is past, plural. We were studying. More than one, plural. And was is past tense, but it is singular. So what do? Go back to the sentence, and you read from the beginning to the end and see what they're talking about here. It talks about the 12th century tales were illustrated with picture scrolls. In the 17th century, what happened in the 17th century? We have books. Books is plural, and the 17th century is past. Past, plural. That means the correct answer, therefore, will have to be past plural, which is answer choice H, were. Number 12, H, using the past tense rule. (68A) English practice problem number 13. It's a Formula B question. Let's go ahead and take a look at this problem. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following true statements. It is also known that Lady Murawski's name, Shikubu, was most likely based on her family's court position in the Bureau of Ceremony, or Shikubu Shu. Should the writer make this addition here? First things first, how do you write a paragraph? Topic sentence followed by details. The job of a detail is to support your topic sentence. Let's go ahead and see where they want to add this particular sentence. Well, they want to add the sentence down here. Down here in a paragraph would be right here. So that means that this area, detail, would have to support the topic sentence. Or they're going to add this here in this area, which means it would have to support the topic sentence. Here is the trick. We've got to go all the way back up and look at our topic sentence. So let's do that. When we look up at the top, our topic sentence says this. In the more than 1,000 years since the tale of Genji was written, our topic sentence here is about the tale of Genji. So that means if we're going to add a detail down here, you better make sure that this detail has something to do with the tale of Genji. Once again, it's talking about the name of this woman. That doesn't have anything to do with the story. So that means it is off topic. Should you add something that's off topic? Answer is no. Should the writer add it? We should not write that in there. So we're going to get rid of answer choice A and answer choice B right away. Then it's merely just going back in and looking at what's going on here. Answer choice C says no because it interrupts the flow of the paragraph. And it's not primarily about the background of this lady. Remember, it's about the tale of Genji. Answer choice D says no because it doesn't provide enough information. Well, remember, the question is asking you to add, should you add a detail here? We already know. I've said it a gazillion times. How many kids are sick of me saying topic sentence followed by details? It's the whole test. English, reading, science, and you'll even see it in the math section. So remember, if they're going to add a sentence, when you add it in there, it better do something. In particular, it better support your topic sentence. There you have it. Practice problem 13. The correct answer here is C, using formula B. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 14. Practice problem number 14, we're going to use formula B. Given that all the following statements are true, which one, if added here, would most effectively conclude the paragraph and support the information given in the preceding sentence? The word preceding means the sentence before, so let's go ahead and find where 14 is. 14 is right here. So the preceding sentence is going to be this particular sentence. Now here's the trick, kids. We are on page 4, problem number 14. So this sentence starts at the top of the page. What I did is I went and pasted this here. We're going to have to go to page 3. So in your booklet, let's go ahead and scroll back up to page 3. Here is the rest of that sentence. You see where I'm at here by the United Nations. So here's the sentence. You're going to have to read that, and let's go ahead and take a look at what they're talking about here. What they're talking about here is Lady Murawski's 11th century tale can even be read online at a website. So the correct answer is going to have to say something about that. Let's go and take a look at the answer choices here. So answer choice J talks about the latest technology, and the latest technology is a Scooby-Doo for online website. So formula B, make sure that you turn the page back and take a look at what the whole sentence is. Most kids are too lazy to flip the page back. That's probably why you got this one wrong. So remember, Scooby-Doo for technology is website. Formula B. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 15. In problem 15, we're going to use formula A technique. So the first thing that you want to do, number 1, is this. You want to find what's called the good stuff. The good stuff means breaking the question down into a smaller amount of information. So you know that this is a formula A question because it says the word suppose. So what we want to do is we want to get out information that's in every single question. Suppose questions under formula A will always say, suppose the writer had intended to write an essay about it. Okay, so let's get rid of that because you've probably read this about 30 times by now. The second thing is we're going to get rid of this. Would this essay successfully fulfill that goal? So we're going to break it down into its essence, getting what's called the good stuff. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to make it into a question. And the question you have to ask yourself is this. Does this paragraph talk about? And then we're going to throw the good stuff into that question. So let's go in step 2. Does this paragraph talk about an overview of the history of the development of the novel as a literary form? Okay, step number 3, you're going to go back to each paragraph. You're going to read the topic sentence. Once you read the topic sentence, you'll ask yourself the question. Does this paragraph talk about an overview, a history, a development of the novel as a literary form? And then you'll go to paragraph 2. You'll read the topic sentence. You'll ask yourself, does this paragraph talk about blah, 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 literary form? And easily just put yes or no next to each paragraph topic sentence. I just put a Y for yes or an N for no. When you do that, you'll see that each one of the topic sentences, you will have an N next to each one of them. It doesn't talk about the history. It talks about one story, and that one story is called The Tale of Genji. So we can cross out answer choice A right away. We can cross out answer choice B right away because the answer is no. The second thing we should do is this. Go back up into the stem here, make sure we know what we're talking about. They're asking us about the history and development of the novel as a literary form. We already know the answer is no, so that means we have C and we have D. So when you look at the difference between the two, it says no because it fails to mention other novels about Lady Murawski. No, the whole passage is talking about the tale of Genji. Remember, you have to answer the question. The question is asking you about the whole passage. The whole passage, when you go back and you look at all your paragraph topic sentences, you see that the whole passage is about the tale of Genji. These are called rhetorical skills, and rhetorical skills are basically big picture questions. You will use your genius mapping technique modified towards answering these Formula A questions. There it is. Suppose question Formula A. The correct answer, therefore, will be answer choice D. Test 68A, English practice problem number 16. We'll use the razor blade rule. Razor blade says simple is best. If you have an option between a long sentence and two short sentences are better than one long run-on. When we look at answer choices F through J, we notice that J right away piques our interest because there's a period. F has a comma, G a comma, H also has a comma. The trick is to make sure that we have two complete sentences on both sides. So when we come back up to the beginning of the sentence, make sure you read from the first word, some, all the way to the word age, and make sure there's a complete sentence with a subject and a verb. Subject is going to be a noun, person, place, or a thing, and a verb will be an action. Some people are starstruck at an early age. That is complete. Then we're going to come back down here and start the sentence with the word one. Remember, that's answer choice F. And then continue on from here all the way down to the period. Let's go ahead and plug that in. One such person is Neil deGrasse Tyson, who or whom returned his fascination for the star-studded sky into a career. That is also a complete sentence with a subject and a verb. So answer choice J will be the correct answer using the razor blade. Remember, two short sentences are better than one long run-on. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 17. The rule we'll use in this particular problem is the who versus whom rule. It's quite easy. Let's go ahead and take a look at it if you don't know it already. Who versus whom. If you go ahead and write out he, she, him, and her, then we're going to need to match those with who and whom. The rule is this. The M's will go together. So when you simply think of it this way, him has an M, and the female version of him is her. Him will always go with whom, because him and whom both have M's at the end. Anything else, you will use the word who. That means he, she, any animals, any objects, any places, any people, anyone's name, anything else, you always use the word who. Remember, him and her, you use whom. Anything else, just remember who. So when you come back over here, let's go ahead and take a look at the sentence. Remember, in practice problem number 16, we use the correct answer here, J, which is a period right up here. So we're actually going to start this sentence right here with the word one. One such person, and that person's name is Neil. So that simply will mean you will use answer choice C, who? Practice problem number 17. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 18. Number 18, we're going to use two rules here. The past present tense rule, and we're going to use a little bit of razor blade. Let's go ahead and get started here. First things first, remember, anytime you're doing any type of English, you always want to start with the beginning of the sentence. Read from the beginning of the sentence to the end. Let's go ahead and do that. By the age of 9, blank, here is where we're going to replace that he wanted to spend his life exploring the universe. Let's go ahead and get started with the tense rule. The first thing is this. By the age of 9, he wanted. The word wanted has an ed on this. That means that the tense of this sentence is past tense. So with the tense rule, we want to make the underlined portion match the tense of the sentence. If you come over here, let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice J. Knowing. ing means present tense, continually doing it right now. That will be crossed out. We're looking for something past tense. H, having the knowledge. It seems a little bit long. Let's use the razor blade and cut that down because that seems a little bit long. Answer choice G, he knew. That's past tense. That will work. Put a dot by it. And let's go ahead and check answer choice F just to make sure that nothing else is better. With the knowledge. With the knowledge, I can run. That's not going to be the correct tense. Answer choice G is the correct answer, therefore, for several reasons. One, it's past tense, and also using the razor blade, it just so happens to be the shortest. Problem number 18. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 19. Problem number 19, we'll use the common razor blade rule. Kids, razor blade says simple is best. When you come into the answer choices A, B, and C, be skeptical right away. Answer choice D looks very, very long. What we want to do here is always start reading from the beginning of the sentence here all the way until the end at the period. We're going to plug in our answer choice. Let's try B first. Remember, be careful because this is a very, very long, clunky sentence. It's actually taken me 5 recordings to read this correctly, so let's hope I can get it done on this try. Lucky number 6. Here we go. A close friend from his Bronx, New York neighborhood took him to the rooftop of a, now we'll plug in our answer choice, building and told him to look up into the sky. That is a complete sentence, and therefore B is the correct answer. Now, some of you might be saying, hey, there's a bunch of commas in there, comma splices. That reminds me of Mr. Chung. Let's go ahead and do a quick review of Mr. Chung. Mr. Chung looks like this, his face. You have dashes, you have commas for the nose, and you have brackets or parentheses. What's between all of this stuff, the dashes, the commas, and the parentheses, is called parenthetical statement. It's non-essential, so you don't need it. You have been taught that whenever you see comma splices or brackets or dashes, to take your pen or pencil and cross out what's in between them because it's non-essential. So we could say there's a comma here, and we could say there's a comma here. Let's try this one actually. That technically is a comma splice according to one of the answer choices. It would be A. So what we can do is we can try and use Mr. Chung. Mr. Chung says we cross out what's between the commas and read from the beginning of the sentence to the end. If it's correctly used, it should still be a complete sentence. Let's go ahead and try it. A close friend from his Bronx to look up into the sky. You see that that is not a parenthetical statement. It is essential because when you cross it out, it's not a sentence. Therefore, anything with a comma after the word building can be crossed out right away. A is out, C is out, D is out, using the Mr. Chung rule along with the razor blade. Double technique on that one, kids. Practice problem number 19. (68A), practice problem number 20 in English. It's a Formula B. Formula B, remember, we're going to do here is we're going to use some rhetorical skills and answer the question. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Given that all the choices are true, which one provides the most specific details of what Tyson saw? You want to give specific visual details. Which one of these answer choices is going to actually tell you exactly what Tyson saw? Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice F. F said he saw the world. It's a lot of things in the world. It's pretty basic. Let's go ahead and take a look at G. G says he saw the world, which he later described in detail in the book. Well, once again, pretty general. F and G can be crossed out because that is not very visual. If you look at answer choice H, H says he saw the world of craters, mountains, and plains. Let's put a dot by that because that seems pretty visual. And answer choice J says the world of remarkable features. That is not very specific. Answer choice H is the best answer choice. Remember, visual details of what Tyson saw. Answer choice H using Formula B. Test 68A, practice problem number 21. Problem 21 states, which of the following alternatives to the underlined portion would not be acceptable? In this one, we're going to go ahead and use our ears, read all the answer choices, and see which one sounds weird. Remember, it's important for you to circle the word not. Whenever you see the word not, least, or accept, make sure you circle them. That means that all of the answer choices will be correct and one choice will be incorrect. It will sound weird. So remember that. It's what ACT expects you to be sloppy, so make sure you put a circle around the word not and go ahead and look for the one that does not work. We are going to do what we normally do on ACT English. Read from the beginning of the sentence to where? The end. Then we'll take our answer choices and plug them into the underlined portion here. Let's go ahead and get started with A. A says point. From that point, his interest in becoming a scientist was set. That sounds fine. We'll go ahead and cross it out. Remember, we're looking for the word that is not going to sound okay. Answer choice B. From that point ahead, his interest in becoming a scientist was set. That sounds weird. We'll put a dot by it. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice C. From that point forward, his interest in becoming a scientist was set. That sounds okay. We'll cross it out. And D, from that point onward, his interest in becoming a scientist was set. That sounds fine as well. Use your ears. Answer choice B sounds weird. It sounds a little wacky. So go ahead and choose B for practice problem number 21. Use your ears. Test 68A, English practice problem number 22. Practice problem number 22. Which of the following alternatives to the underlined portion is not acceptable? Here's what I did. I used my ears, number one, and I used the Mr. Chung rule. So we're looking for one that is not acceptable. Make sure that you see that every time that I get one of these questions. I always put a circle around the word not, except, or least. That will remind you you're looking for an answer that is not correct. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice F. We're going to use the Mr. Chung rule first. Mr. Chung, his face looks like this. Remember, dashes for the eyes, commas for the nose, and parentheses for the mouth. What's between all of these things is going to be extra information. It's non-essential. It's called a parenthetical statement. Whatever is between the dashes, whatever is between the brackets, whatever is between the commas is all non-essential information. If you come over here in answer choice F, you see that there are two commas here, one here and one here. Using Mr. Chung, we cross out that extra information, and then we go ahead, read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence and see how that is going to sound. Let's go ahead and do that. So it says in junior high, Tyson bought a telescope with money he had earned walking neighborhood dogs. Okay, that sounds fine. We can cross that out using Mr. Chung rule. Let's do the same thing here for practice problem number J. Letter J, there are dashes, just like Mr. Chung, two dashes. Just like the eyes, that means what's between the dashes, parenthetical statement, non-essential. We can go ahead and cross that out. We read from the beginning of the sentence and see how it sounds. In junior high, Tyson bought a telescope with money he had earned walking his neighborhood dogs. That one sounds fine as well. We're looking for one that is not sounding correct. If you read G, we're going to plug in G, see how it sounds. In junior high, Tyson bought himself his first telescope with money he had earned walking his neighborhood dogs. That sounds okay as well. Therefore, answer choice H is the only one left, and we're looking for one that is not acceptable. Let's go ahead, plug it in just for fun and see how it sounds. In junior high, Tyson bought his first telescope for him with money he had earned walking his neighborhood dogs. That sounds weird, and also you're referring to Tyson as him and his, and also you're saying his name, so it's pretty repetitive. Problem number 22, the correct answer, therefore, will be H. Test 68A, English practice problem number 23. Practice problem number 23, we're going to use formula B. Formula B. Given all the choices that are true, which one effectively provides new, specific information? The key word here, kids, is this: specific information. Let's go ahead and read from the beginning of the sentence, starting up here, all the way down to the period, and we're looking to add something new that is specific. Let's go ahead and plug in answer choice A. To further prepare for his future career, he joined astronomy clubs. That's specific. He took extra math classes. That is specific. And spent many hours looking up at the star-filled dome inside the planetarium that he now oversees. Answer choice A seems pretty specific. Let's go ahead and take a look at B. B says he joined clubs. It never says any specific clubs. And it says he took classes. It never says anything about extra math classes, so that is not specific. A is still better. Take a look at C. C says showed an interest in astronomy. That is not specific at all, therefore that can be crossed out. And D says made a point of learning relevant information. What kind of information was relevant? You don't know. Best answer choice, therefore, that gives you specific new information on math classes and astronomy will lead us to answer choice H. 23, therefore, will be A. Test 68A, English practice problem number 24. Problem number 24, very easy problem. We're going to use the razor blade. Remember, razor blade says simple is best. When you come over here, we're going to read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence, and make sure that when you use the razor blade, find one of the shorter answer choices, that it still is a complete sentence. Let's go ahead right away, start and check answer choice J. That means we're going to take this word transformed and put it in the underlined sentence right here, underlined portion of the sentence, read from the beginning to the end. Let's go ahead and do that now. Under his leadership, the New York City landmark was transformed into a high-tech glass and steel wonder. That is a complete sentence. Therefore, J automatically will be the right answer. Short, simple, using the razor blade. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 25. 25 states, which of the following alternatives to the underlined portion would be least acceptable? What you want to do here is use your ears and plug in each answer choice. Second thing is this: when you read the sentence, visitors to the planetarium's space theater can now view the marvels of the cosmos through blank virtual tour. Marvels, using the good stinky rule, is positive. That means our answer choice here will also have to be positive. Spectacular, that sounds positive. Striking, that sounds positive. Over emotional, that feels negative. And D says sensational, that seems positive. Remember, whenever you see the word least, accept, or not, go ahead and make sure that you circle it in the question stem. That way you'll remember that you're looking for an answer that does not work. Let's go ahead and spot check our answer as we plug in answer choice C for in 25. Visitors to the planetarium space theater can now view the marvels of the cosmos through an over-emotional virtual tour. C is the correct answer because it just sounds flat out weird. Test 68A, English practice problem number 26. In 26, we're going to use the Formula B technique, analyzing one particular paragraph. Let's go ahead and get started. Here's what the question says. The writer wants to divide the preceding paragraph into two in order to separate the information about Tyson's background and early accomplishments in science from information about his work at the planetarium. Where is the best place to divide this at which sentence? So basically what we're going to have here is we're going to have a whole paragraph and you're just going to cut it in two. The first part is going to be background about him and his education, and the second part is him working at the planetarium. So let's go back to the preceding paragraph. First of all, we have to find where problem 26 is. 26 is right here. The preceding paragraph, if you see here, This is the paragraph at the end because this is indented here. The preceding paragraph would mean not this paragraph, but the paragraph above. That is a trap. So let's go ahead, go back to the paragraph above and start reading the sentences here. Here is that paragraph. Let's go ahead and try and divide this. The first thing we're looking for, background information, we'll read sentence number 1. In junior high, Tyson found his first telescope with the money he earned from walking dogs. That is background information. Doesn't say anything about him working at the planetarium. Sentence number 2, it says to further prepare for his future career. That is also background information. So we have sentence 1, background, sentence 2, background. We're going to go to sentence 3. Sentence 3 is right here. While earning his university degrees in both physics and astrophysics, he worked as a columnist for the State Date Astronomy magazine. That is also background information. Let's go to sentence 4. In 1988, he published first book on astronomy and astrophysics. Also background, doesn't say anything about him working at the planetarium. Then let's go to sentence number 5, and give me 1 second here. I'm going to have to scroll down here. All right. Sentence number 5, continuing on, remember 1 through 4, a background. Sentence number 5, it says, soon after he was appointed the director of the planetarium in 1996, he spearheaded this blah, 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 blah project. Okay, so right there, that is him working at the planetarium. So we want to go between 4 and 5. Let's go back to the question. And take a look at it a little closer. The best place to begin the new paragraph would be at the beginning of sentence 5. Because remember, sentence 1, 2, 3, and 4 are background information, and sentence 5 starts talking about the planetarium where he worked. There you have it. It's Formula B, analyzing, adding, deleting, and dividing one single paragraph. 26, therefore, is answer choice H using Formula B. Test 68A, English practice problem number 27. 27 is a simple razor blade problem. Simple is best according to the razor blade. When you look at answer choices A through D for problem 27, you notice that problem A, no change, has just one word, recognizes. B says possesses the recognition of, too long. C acknowledges the recognition. These words are redundant, making the sentence very long, and clunky. And D says, has recognition and awareness. This is redundant. Once again, razor blade says simple is best, therefore the correct answer for 27 will be answer choice A. Test 68A, English practice problem number 28. Number 28, we'll go ahead and use the razor blade again on this particular problem. 28, remember, read from the beginning of the sentence here, starting with Tyson, all the way to the end of the sentence here after planetarium. We're going to correct this portion of the sentence. When you look at F no change, it says position he. Well, if you read from the beginning of the sentence, Tyson recognizes the possibilities of his, it's a reference to Tyson, twice. Then if you were to put he in there, it's another reference, always makes himself available to children who visit the planetarium. There's 4 references. We don't need to talk about him that many times, so that is definitely redundant, so we'll get F out right away. Answer choice G says position and. Let's go ahead and try it and see how it sounds. Tyson recognizes the possibilities of his position and always makes himself available to children who visit the planetarium. That sounds okay. Let's put a dot by it. Answer choice H, position which he. Once again, we make a reference to he and we add in the word which. Too long using the razor blade. Let's get that out of there. When we look at answer choice J, we add even another word. We still see the word he. And now we add in another word, definitely too long using the razor blade. Redundancy. We don't need to talk about Tyson, him, or himself 4 times in the sentence. Therefore, G will be the correct answer in this particular problem, number 28. Test 68A, practice problem number 29. Problem number 29, we will use the Formula B technique. We're asked rhetorical skills, basically to end sentences, end paragraphs, rearrange sentences, and so forth using the formula technique you've learned in the one-on-one tutoring with Professor Thomas. Let's go ahead and take a look at problem 29. The writer would like to end the essay by offering a sense of Tyson's passion for astronomy and his desire to see others succeed. Given all the choices are true, which one accomplishes the writer's goal? Remember, we're trying to show something positive here. Tyson's passion. And Tyson has the desire to make sure that other people succeed in the field of astronomy. So we need to make something positive in the answer choices down here, and we need to make a reference to other people. If you take a look at answer choice A says, he has achieved what many would only dream of. That doesn't say anything about his desire to see others succeed, so therefore does not answer the question. If you look at B says, is knowledgeable for star formation, dwarfs, galaxies, and the structure of the Milky Way. That doesn't show any desire whatsoever to see others succeed. That just shows what he's interested in. Therefore, B can be crossed out. Answer choice C says, has an important message. He has a message. Uh-oh. Is this message positive? He has a message for everyone he meets. Reach for the stars. That is positive, and that shows there's a passion for Tyson in the field of astronomy. Therefore, C will be the correct answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice D, just in case you chose that one. D says, knows more about the night sky now than he did when he first looked at the moon through the binoculars. Great. That sounds like he's knowledgeable, but that doesn't show his passion. Also, it doesn't make any reference whatsoever to others. Therefore, C is still the best answer using Formula B for problem 29. Test 68A, English practice problem number 30. Problem number 30, we're going to use Formula A. Let's do a quick review of what you need to do in all the steps. Number one, the first thing that we need to do in the question stem here is get what's called the good stuff. The good stuff means to cross out the information that you don't need, that you know is going to be in the question every single time. Let's go ahead, read it, and keep the good stuff and cross out what you don't need. 30 states, suppose the writer's goal has been to write a brief essay describing a prominent astrophysicist. Would this essay accomplish that goal? First of all, every single one of the Formula A questions will always start out with this particular sentence in the beginning. Suppose the writer's goal had been to write a brief essay describing. So let's go ahead and get that out of there. The second part, it's going to be in there every single time. Would this essay successfully fulfill that goal? We already know that that's a sentence that's in every single one of the Formula A suppose questions, so we'll cross it out. Therefore, the good stuff will now be just a prominent astrophysicist. Number two, we're going to make a question, and the question says, does this paragraph talk about Does this paragraph talk about an astrophysicist? Prominent astrophysicist? Step number three, you're going to take this question, does this paragraph talk about a prominent astrophysicist? You're going to go back to each paragraph and you're going to read each topic sentence. Then you'll ask yourself that particular question. For example, paragraph number 1, turn the page back, go back to paragraph 1 in this small essay, read the topic sentence and say, does this paragraph talk about a prominent astrophysicist? You're only looking at the topic sentence. When you do that, you'll see that paragraph 1 does indeed talk about a prominent astrophysicist. It talks about Tyson. Step 3, go back to each paragraph. Step number 4, once you've read the topic sentence, you've asked yourself that question, does this paragraph talk about a prominent astrophysicist? You're going to put either a Y for yes or an N for no. Listen, it's very important you follow these steps, because if you don't, you're going to get confused and chances are pretty high you won't get the correct answer. Then, in step 5, once you've gone through the whole essay, you've read each topic sentence similar to the genius mapping technique, then you've labeled each paragraph topic sentence either yes or no, then you will come back to the question stem, be able to reduce the answers down to 2. In this particular case, we'll see that all the topic sentences do indeed talk about Tyson. Therefore, answer choice H and J can be crossed out right away. When you come back down to F and G, you'll see that G is the best answer because G talks about the astrophysicist Tyson. And through the topic sentences, you see that all those topic sentences are positive using the good stinky rule. When you come in and take a look at answer choice F, F says reluctant. Reluctantly, that seems negative. Therefore, G will be the correct answer for practice problem number 30. Test 68A, English practice problem number 31. In problem 31, we will use the razor blade again. Remember, simple is best. Don't be redundant, don't be wordy, and if you see the words omit or delete, check those answer choices first. 31 will lead us to the underlined portion here. Remember, we'll always have to read from the beginning of the sentence all the way to the end of the sentence down here. Let's get started. Three plants together, known collectively as the Three Sisters, have long been an important source of substance for many Native American nations. A couple things here when you look at the answer choices here. This is a redundancy problem in the razor blade. So for example, the word together and collectively are redundant, because when you're doing something together, you're collaborating. It's a vocabulary word, so that means that answer choice A is redundant. If you see the word together here, you see the word together here, so that means B will be incorrect as well. If you see together here and you see collectively here, that means it is also wrong. Remember, together and collectively are vocabulary words that mean the same thing. That means the correct answer, which is the shortest answer choice and not redundant, is D for practice problem 31 using the razor blade technique. Test 68A, practice problem number 32. In practice problem number 32, we'll use several different rules to derive the answer. Number one, we'll use the tense rule. The second thing we'll do is we'll use our ears and see how it sounds. And number three, we'll be thinking razor blade the whole time. Short, sweet, simple sentences. Remember, in ACT English, you'll always start from the beginning of the sentence here with three plants and read from there to the end where the period is located at the word nations. The second thing to keep in mind is this, that when you're asked to evaluate problem number 32, we need to throw in the correct answer for problem 31, which is the word known. When you read and use your ears, you always have to use the correct answer if there is more than one question in one sentence. Therefore, we can cross this out if you don't do that and you plug in and read the answer that they have here for no change, and that just so happens to be the wrong answer for the question here, that will throw you off because the whole sentence will sound weird, and you can therefore not use your ears technique. Let's get started. The main noun or the subject in this particular sentence is the three plants. So when you see this, we're looking for the verb or the verb connector here. In answer choice F, no change, it says have. That means three plants have. Let's use this as an example. How about we say the plants have green leaves? Three plants have green leaves. That sounds fine. So we're asked, does the word have in connection to the noun sound okay? In this case, yes it does. If you look at answer choice G, G uses the word has. Let's go ahead and do that same technique. Three plants has. Three plants has green leaves. Right away you can see the word has sounds weird when you use your ears technique, locating the verb connector and connecting it to the noun. If you look at answer choice J, J using the same logic can be crossed out. Three plants has. We're left with the answer choice F, and we're left with the answer choice H. Right away when we look at answer choice F, 1, 2, 3 words. And in H, H has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and check the shortest answer first and make sure if it works and it sounds good, it will be the correct answer. Let's go back in here and evaluate the sentence. Three plants known collectively as Three Sisters have long been an important source of substance for many Native American nations. That sounds fine to me, and therefore the shorter answer will be the better answer. Even though H sounds okay, F will be the better answer because it's shorter. Problem 32, using the three techniques, tense, razor blade, and use your ears, will derive the correct answer of answer choice F. Test 68A English practice problem number 33. In 33, we'll use several different techniques here to derive the correct answer. First of all, we'll use the razor blade technique that says short, simple answer choices are preferred on ACT English. The second thing we'll use is something called a hazy pronoun. Hazy pronouns are words that don't refer to things very specifically. If, for example, the number one hazy pronoun on ACT test day will be the word it. It made me happy. Not sure what made me happy, but I know that it did. It, very, very hazy. When you come in and look at the answer choices here, let's go ahead, take a look at the answers. The word it is a hazy pronoun in the answer choice A. Let's go ahead and read this sentence from the beginning, starting with the word being, all the way up to the end of the sentence where you have a period after the word since. Being experienced and effective horticulturists, it was indigenous peoples. What was? See how that just doesn't quite, you're not really sure, was it the experience or the effectiveness? Very, very hazy in there. Let's get answer choice A out because of the hazy pronoun rule. Keeping in mind that logic, let's move on to answer choice C. C has the word it again, which is another hazy pronoun. Let's go ahead and plug in C. Being experienced and effective horticulturists, it was known by indigenous peoples. Once again, that just sounds weird, and also it's a hazy pronoun. If you look, we're left with answer choice B, and we're left with answer choice D. Let's check D. It says, being experienced and effective horticulturists, the knowledge was possessed by indigenous peoples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. That sounds okay because it's not hazy, but answer choice A has only, answer choice B has only 3 words. 3 versus 7, razor blade every single time. If they both sound okay, go with the shortest answer choice. B is the correct answer, therefore, for 32. Test 68A English practice problem number 34. In practice problem number 34, we will use the formula B technique. Before we get started, let's do a quick overview of how to write a paragraph. Paragraphs are written in the form of topic sentences followed by details. You've heard me say this many, many, many times before. The job of a detail is to support the topic sentence. That's the gist of the whole test. The topic sentence will be like someone's personal opinion. This is very important to keep in mind, because if you have a personal opinion, in order for you to have other people believe your personal opinion or your topic sentence or thesis, you must give evidence as to why that is true. Remember, you need details to support your topic sentence, or you need facts to support your personal opinion. In this particular problem, it says if the writer were to delete the preceding sentence in the paragraph would primarily lose information that. The first thing we need to do is locate where number 34 is. 34 is right here. So when they say the preceding sentence, preceding means just before the number. So they're talking about the sentence before number 34, which is the sentence starting here with the word the and ending at the period here after soil. If you were to delete this, what would happen to the paragraph? If you look here, you see chances are pretty high that if you deleted the topic sentence, then you would not have anything here. You just have a bunch of details, but you wouldn't know what's going on here. So let's go ahead and keep that in mind as you look at your answer choices. Answer choice F says this. It illustrates how the 3 benefit each other. Let's go ahead and read the sentence. The technique is indigenous. Several kernels of corn are planted in a circle in a hill of soil. That doesn't say anything about a benefit. Therefore, F can be crossed out right away. If you look at G, G says unnecessary details. Well, we already know that this is a topic sentence right here. So first of all, it's not a detail, and second of all, it's not unnecessary because it's talking about the technique. G, therefore, can be crossed out. H says identifies the first step of planting the three sisters. The technique, several kernels of corn are planted. That seems on track. Let's put a dot by H. And let's finally look at answer choice J. J says it proves that the corn is the most important of the three sisters. Remember our paragraph. You never prove anything in a topic sentence. Usually when you try and prove something, if you were to do that, that would be later down here in what's called a conclusion. Therefore, J can be crossed out right away. 34, using formula B, keeping in mind how to write a paragraph, answer choice H will be the correct answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 35. Problem number 35, remember, we'll read from the beginning of the sentence here all the way down to the end of the sentence, and we will correct the underlined portion here. The correct answer will be either A through D. We need to check and make sure that the punctuation is used correctly. Let's get started. We'll do a quick review of the dot comma. The dot comma is like a banana and an orange. Both are similar because a banana and an orange are both fruits. So on the left you will have a complete sentence, and on the right you will have a complete sentence. Both of these sentences will be related because they are connected together, just like a banana and an orange are connected together because they are both fruits. Each one of the sentences will be a specific type. I like bananas. Jimmy likes oranges. They're both complete sentences, and the sentences are related because they're talking about the same general subject. So the first thing that you want to do with ACT dot commas are this. Make sure that you have a complete sentence on the left and a complete sentence on the right. Let's go ahead and get started and assume that we're checking answer choice C first, which means right here we would have a dot comma or a semicolon. When we read from the beginning, we want to check to see if there's a complete sentence. As the three plants grow, the corn stalks support the bean trestles. That is a complete sentence. Now, we'll read from the word while all the way to the word corn and see if that's a complete sentence. While the beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which fertilizes the corn. That is not a complete sentence. That is a fragment. So that means that C will be incorrect because remember the definition of a dot comma or semicolon is two complete sentences that are related. With the same logic we can jump up to answer choice B because we see in B there is a period. If there is a period in between trestles and while, we need to have two complete sentences, one on the left and one on the right. We already know that this part on the right hand side here is a fragment. So using the same logic as C, B can be crossed out as well. Now it comes down to either A or D. Let's go ahead and check D because we're thinking razor blade first. Simple is best. As the three plants grow, the corn stalks support the bean trestles. The beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which fertilizes the corn. That feels weird. It feels like there's something missing there. So let's hold off on that and check A and see if A feels a little bit better and see how it sounds when you read the whole thing from the beginning to the end. As the three plants grow, the corn stalks support the bean trestles, while the beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which fertilizes the corn. That is a connector, and that makes the sentence complete when you use the word while. So answer choice A will be the correct answer for practice problem number 35. Test 68A English, problem number 36. In problem number 36, we'll use the CARS rule. The CARS rule, let's do a quick overview. We're going to do several things here. We're going to first talk about the pinky rule or the finger rule. The second thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the mini name tag. The mini name tag. The mini name tags means when you see a small apostrophe, it looks like someone's name tag, which means there's possession. For example, this right here looks like a little miniature name tag. This right here, this apostrophe, looks like a mini name tag, and so forth. So whenever you see a mini name tag, you know right away that there's possession. The second thing that you want to do is you want to look and see where the mini name tag is and look to the right and ask yourself, is there possession there? Let's start with answer choice F. F, I see a mini name tag here. So that means the plant will own something, and you will have to look just to the right to see and make sure that the plant owns or possesses its own root system. Does a plant own its own root system? And the answer is obviously yes. So you will use a mini name tag in this particular problem. Remember, always look to the right to see if there's possession first. The second thing we'll use is the finger rule or the pinky rule. What you do is you take your finger or your pinky and you cover it up. Pretend that my finger is this pen, and I cover up the mini name tag. Once I cover up the mini name tag, I look to the left and I ask myself, how many are there? In this case, when I cover the mini name tag up, I look to the left and I see it says plants. P-L-A-N-T-S apostrophe. That means there's more than one plant with ownership, and more than one plant owns its own root system. So you want to make sure that there's plural in this particular problem. How do we know it's plural? You can go back in the previous section above and check to see what they're talking about. If you read the sentence just above, it says the broadleafs of the square plants. We know that we're talking about more than one plant. So in this case, we're going to be talking about plural possession. That means more than one plant owns its own root system. If you look at answer choice F, that will be the correct answer because there's P-L-A-N-T-S apostrophe. Let's go through the rest of the answer choices so I can illustrate this further. If you look at answer choice G, you take your finger and you say to yourself, okay, so I see P-L-A-N-T apostrophe S. If you put your finger right here, that means when you look to the right, one plant owns its own root system. So far that will work. But when you use the finger rule says this, that when you put your finger over the mini name tag and look to the left, it says that there's only one plant. Well, we know from the previous section above here that there's multiple plants. So that means that answer choice G can be crossed out right away because that means singular possession. And we already know that it's plural possession. Let's go ahead, take a look at answer choice H. H, using the mini name tag and the finger rule, you'll see that this is possession of the root system. And yes, a plant owns its own root system. And there's more than one plant that owns its root system. Now, if you look over here, you see the word system, apostrophe S. That means there's one system, and the system owns what's to the right of system. So we'll have to go back over here and see where system is. System is here. Does one system own its own and help? The answer is no. It's incorrectly used, and therefore H can be crossed out. Let's look at answer choice J. J, P-L-A-N-T apostrophe S. Using the mini name tag rule, we see P-L-A-N-T apostrophe S means one plant when you put your finger over there with ownership of the root system. We already know that this is incorrect from answer choice G because We are talking about multiple plants, as the previous sentence says. The correct answer, therefore, using the CARS rule, is answer choice F. Remember, please commit this to memory. You need to remember the mini name tag rule. That means when you see an apostrophe, there will be possession. You will have to look to the right to see if there is indeed possession or not. Look to the right of the apostrophe first. The second thing you'll do is you'll go ahead and you'll take your finger and cover up the apostrophe, and then you will ask yourself, how many are there? Is there one, or is there more than one? You'll have to use the rest of the sentence. You'll have to use the sentences above to evaluate to see if that's the case or not. Practice problem 36, F. Test 68A, English practice problem number 37. In problem 37, we'll use the razor blade rule. A quick overview of the razor blade. The razor blade says simple is best. Shorter answer choices are better than long run-ons. Number 1. Number 2, do not be redundant or repetitive. That means they'll use vocabulary words that are similar in the sentence, that are similar inside the underlined portion, and they'll try and catch you because your vocabulary is not strong. The other thing to keep in mind is they'll repeat words in the sentence and then repeat words in the underlined sentence. Be careful. No redundancy. Don't be repetitive. Short, simple answer choices. And finally, whenever it says delete or omit, check these answer choices first, because lots of times the correct answer will be indeed answer choice D at the bottom or answer choice J at the bottom. Let's go ahead and get started. Always read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence. In this particular case, we'll read from squash. Squash yields both vitamins from the fruit and healthful, delicious oils from the seeds is yielded also. Right away, you know that sounds weird. Answer choice A, it says yielded. Well, the sentence says yield already, so there's no reason to say yields and yielded. So that's redundant in answer choice A. The second thing, if you notice here, the tenses do not match. Yields means present tense, and yielded, ed, will be past tense. If you look at B, B can be crossed out for the same logic. It's redundant as well, and also the tenses do not match. C, the tenses do not match, and it's redundant again. Therefore, answer choice D for problem 37 using the razor blade will lead us to the correct answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 38. In practice problem number 38, we'll use the razor blade rule again. Remember, razor blade says simple is best. Do not be redundant and have long run-on sentences. If you see the word delete or omit, check these answer choices first, because lots of times they'll be the correct answer. In this particular problem, always read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence. When we do that, it starts off with equally. Equally and equivalently say the same thing, so they are therefore redundant. You do not need to say both of those words. They say the same thing. They have the same meaning. F can be crossed out right away. G is a short answer choice. We'll go ahead and keep that one. It says equally important is the moral lesson that the three sisters impart. Short, it's simple, it's to the point, and it still allows the sentence to be complete. If you look at answer choice H, H is the longest one by far. It says equal weight, and equal weight is the same as up here it says equally. That is redundant. Cross it out using razor blade. If you look at problem 38, answer choice J, it says important and key. Important and key both are words that mean the same thing, so therefore that's redundant. This particular problem, very easy, short, simple, using the razor blade. G is the correct answer for 38. Test 68A, English practice problem number 39. Number 39, we're going to use the Formula B technique. Remember, in Formula B, we're going to be dealing with one particular paragraph. Here's how you write a paragraph. A topic sentence at the top and details here below that will add to and support your topic sentence above. A topic sentence will feel like somebody's personal opinion. If you look here, where is problem number 39? 39 is here. Here's what it says. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following true statement. That means that they want to take this sentence here and they want to put it in as detail number 1 that supports our topic sentence. So you want to read this and ask yourself, is this the number 1 detail that will support our topic sentence? Let's look at our topic sentence. Here is our topic sentence. It says, equally important is the moral lesson that the three sisters impart. We're talking about a moral lesson in regards to the three sisters. When you come over here and read this sentence, is this new sentence that they want to add here something that supports the moral lesson of the three sisters? It says, the name Three Sisters has also been used to refer to a range of mountains in the Canadian Rockies. Obviously, you see right away this is off topic because it doesn't say anything about the moral lesson. It just talks about the Canadian Rockies and so forth. Number 2, you see the word that says also. You never want to use the word also to refer to anything that's detail number 1. Because remember, your detail number 1 has to go back and support your topic sentence. In this case, you should not add this sentence. That means A and B will be crossed out right away. Let's move on to letter C. Letter C says this. No, because it does not explain why the mountains are known as the Three Sisters. Well, remember, our topic sentence doesn't say anything about any mountain range at all. It talks about the moral lesson. So you know right away that C is out because talking about the name is something just completely off topic. Answer choice D says no because it distracts the reader from the focus of the essay and does not logically fit into the essay at this point. It's distracting. Remember, our topic sentence is about the moral lesson that the three sisters provide. But now they start talking about naming of Canadian Rocky Mountains. It distracts you. Answer choice D, using Formula B for problem number 39. Remember, kids, it's very important that you remember how people write paragraphs. If you can keep this in mind anytime you're analyzing anything, whether it's a piece of writing, it's English on the ACT, or even following the train of thought of people that make arguments to you. Hey, Susie is really mean. That is their personal opinion or topic sentence. Then below, they should give you some logical details that will support why Susie is mean. If they say Susie has $15 in her back pocket, that doesn't support anything about Susie being mean. Keep in mind, everything starts with the paragraph and how it's formulated. Once again, 39, the correct answer, D. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 40. Practice problem number 40, we'll use our ears to evaluate this sentence and see which one sounds better. A couple things here, kids. You'll see this. There's a huge blank space in the middle here. ACT just puts that in there to make it confusing. It's not the beginning of a new paragraph because it's not indented and it's in between a sentence. They just basically go there, throw this in there, and make things kind of odd for you. They're trying to throw you off your game here and get you used to something that you've never seen before. For me, personally, I've never seen anyone write a paragraph and then put a huge space in the middle. To me, that just seems weird. That makes me feel uncomfortable a little bit. Why are they doing that? So I'm starting to overthink. I'm starting to think of other things besides answering the darn questions. Let's go ahead, take a look at practice problem number 40. 40, we'll use our ears. We'll read always from the beginning of the sentence down to the end of the sentence and see how that works. So let's go ahead and get started. Practice problem 40F, the word says cooperation and harmony. Many native peoples see the three plants as a model of cooperation and harmony, comma, each plant benefiting from their growth. That sounds okay. I put a dot by it. Let's go ahead and take a look at G. G says cooperation and harmonious. Many Native American peoples see the three plants as a model of cooperation and harmonious, each plant benefiting from their own growth. To me, the harmonious part sounds weird. Therefore, using my ears, I go ahead and cross out answer choice G. The second thing I can do is I can say answer choice H says harmonious as well, and I've already said that that word sounds funny when I go ahead and plug it in. Let's cross that one out as well. Answer choice J says being cooperative and harmony. Read from the beginning of the sentence, see which one sounds the best so far. We have F and we have J. Let's plug J in. Many native peoples see the three plants as a model of being cooperative and harmony, each plant benefiting from their growth. Being cooperative and harmony, well, that feels weird there. If they would have put being cooperative and harmonious, that would sound better, but it says cooperative and harmony. That, to me, sounds weird. Therefore, I'm going to cross it out. Use your ears, train your ears, see which one sounds better. Do you know why? I'll tell you a super secret that's right there in front of your face, kids. Listen, somebody wrote this particular sentence. That means somebody sat down with a typewriter, a computer, a pen or a pencil, and wrote this sentence. Just like you, when you're doing your homework, you have to write sentences. But sometimes, haven't you written a sentence and said, you know what, that sounds weird. I'm going to have to rewrite that sentence. So that means if you do that, other people do that as well. If it sounds weird to you, chances are it probably sounded weird to the person that wrote the sentence. So use your ears, see which one sounds the best. Practice problem 40, therefore, will be answer choice F. (68A) English practice problem number 41. Problem 41, we're going to use several different techniques to answer the question here. First of all, remember in ACT English you always want to read from the beginning of the sentence. In this case it will be the word many, all the way down here to the bottom where the period is at the word growth. Now some of you kids might say to yourself, why is there a huge space here? This is not a beginning of a paragraph. It's mid-sentence. They put a monster space in here. Let me tell you why they do that. They do that because ACT wants to do that. Don't care. They do it to make you feel uncomfortable. Wait, I've never seen that before. Huh? I don't get it. Yeah, don't get it, don't understand, don't care. They simply put that in there to throw you off your game. Let's continue on with 41. Don't worry about that stuff. We're going to read from the beginning of the sentence starting with many native peoples. Many native peoples see the three plants as a model of cooperation and harmony, each plant benefiting from blank's growth. Right away you know that THEIR means people and plural. We're talking about a plant, so that will not work. Answer choice A, therefore, can be crossed out. THER means plural possession of people, and we're talking about a plant. Let's continue on. If you see, with that same logic, you see that answer choice C is out because we're continually talking about the plant here, and answer choice C says his or her. Right away, we're talking about a plant. We're not talking about people, so A and C can be crossed out right away. Answer choice B says ITS, which means an animal or an object with possession. So if you look at here and see what they're talking about, many native peoples see the three plants as a model of cooperation and harmony, each plant benefiting from its growth. So really what that's saying is each plant is benefiting from its own growth. Is that what they're trying to say? Remember, they're trying to say cooperation here. That was the correct answer for problem number 40. That means each plant is cooperating in an environment that benefits each other. So if you look over here, answer choice D will say that. That will say the gist of the whole problem. Many native people see the three plants as a model of cooperation and harmony, each plant benefiting from the other's growth. That means one plant is benefiting from the other one, and that is something that is harmonious, and that is cooperation. Let's go ahead and do a quick overview of the CARS rule. The CARS rule says apostrophe S's. The first thing you want to do is see, is their possession. Others. Do others possess their own growth? Of course they do. So that is used correctly. And second of all, you want to see, using the finger rule, cover up the apostrophe and look to the left and see there is more than one, or plural, owning the own growth. And in this case, there is more than one because we're talking up here about the three plants. 41, the correct answer will be answer choice D. Test 68A English practice problem number 43. Number 43 will use the who-whom rule. Remember, this rule is very straightforward. The rule is this: commit it to memory. Please make a note card. The M's go together. Here's what we have. We have him and her, and we have the word whom. Him, there's an M at the end. So that means him will always be used with whom. Connect those M's together. Him is only used with whom. The female version of him is her. This rule, in essence, him and her, you only use the word whom. Anything else, anyone else, any place, any name, anything, you use who. That means he. That means she. That means Mr. Johnson. That means New York City. That means the dog. That means the cat. Always use who. Anytime you're going to use whom, it's simply him or her. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sentence here. Remember, in practice problem 43, this is the underlined part here. We start with the beginning of the sentence up here with the word many. Many tribes have legends of three interwound sisters. Right away, you know that we're going to be dealing with sisters. So sisters is not a him and is not a her. It's something else. It's he, she, it's sisters. So that means we will use the word who. Right away, you know that D is out because it says whom. Right away, you know B is out because it says the word whom. Right away, you know C is out because in the end here it says whom. Siblings, whom. Siblings, whom. It's used incorrectly. It should be siblings who. It should be siblings whom. Those are out right away. And in this one, who will connect with sisters. That will lead us with the only answer choice that's used correctly here is answer choice A. Remember, please write this down on a note card. It's a very easy rule. Draw it out just like I have it here. He, she, people, places, and so forth will connect with who. And the only time you will use the word whom is with him. The female version of him is her. There you have it, 43, the correct answer, therefore. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 44. In problem 44, we will use the Formula B technique. Keep in mind how people write paragraphs. You've seen this before. Topic sentence at the top and details below. The job of a detail is to support your topic sentence. A topic sentence will feel like a personal opinion. That personal opinion needs to be proved through the details below. The details are called the body of the paragraph. Let's go ahead and take a look at 44. Which of the following true statements, if added here, would most effectively introduce the subject that some modern gardeners are using the planting technique described in the essay? First things first, we are going to add a sentence. So number one, the first thing you have to do is you have to ask yourself, where are they going to add this? They're telling you that we're going to add this as an introduction. An introduction is a Scooby-Doo or rewording for a topic sentence. 44 is right here. In this case, they want to add a sentence before this. So the sentence you're going to add would be right here. Your topic sentence. So, your topic sentence has to say something about modern gardeners using this planting technique. Let's go ahead, weed through the answers and find out which one would be a good topic sentence that mentions modern gardeners and using the particular planting technique. F says, the idea of planting several types of plants near each other is strange. The good stinky rule will tell us that things are either positive or negative. When you say something is strange, that sounds negative. When a modern gardener uses this particular planting technique, that should be something that's positive. So therefore, using the good stinky rule, you can cross out answer choice F. G says many gardeners, talks about gardeners, we're on track, are discovering the benefits of this sort of companion planting, as it is sometimes known. They're discovering planting techniques. They're using and discovering. That's a Scooby-Doo or rewording for each other. And this is a planting technique here. That is the correct answer, G. Let's look at the other answer choices to see where they went wrong. H. People who are enjoying gardening often also enjoy talking about their gardens and show their gardens to friends. No, this is incorrect because it says people are enjoying and they're talking about it. That doesn't say that they're using. Remember, the key word here that we circled was using. So H is wrong because it says talking. They're not using, they're talking about it. J, gardening is an activity that can be enjoyed by many types of people, young and old, male and female. It says here that gardening is being enjoyed or can be enjoyed. That doesn't say anything about using. using that particular technique. Therefore, J can be crossed out. Remember, the important thing here in Formula B, whenever you're asked to add or delete a sentence, weed through this information and find out the keywords. In this particular problem, modern gardeners using the technique. We broke it down and simplified it and got what's called the good stuff. There you have it. 44, the correct answer is G. Test 68A, English practice problem number 45. 45 will use the Formula A technique here. 45 states, for the sake of logic and coherence of the essay, paragraph 1 should be placed where? Keep in mind that when we're doing Formula A questions that are asking you to rearrange paragraphs, envision a funnel. The funnel is broad at the top and progressively gets narrower as you go down towards the bottom. We're going to go back to paragraph number 1 and compare it to all the other topic sentences in the passage. First thing to take note of is the topic title of this essay is called The Three Sisters. Then, in the topic sentence, it defines what the three sisters are. Three plants together known collectively as the Three Sisters have long been an important source of subsistence for many Native American nations. This is a definition of the Three Sisters, and therefore a definition underneath the title will be very broad. As we go down to second paragraph, it says the technique is indigenous. What technique? The technique known as the Three Sisters. So you can see paragraph number 2 goes down the funnel and becomes more narrow. Let's take a look at paragraph number 3. Paragraph 3 says, eaten together, the three foods provide balanced nutrition. What three foods? The three foods that come from the Three Sisters technique. Once again, this paragraph is narrow. It goes down the funnel. As we go to the next paragraph, paragraph number 4, 4 says, equally important is the moral lesson of the Three Sisters impart. Once again, we're talking about the Three Sisters, and also it is equally important. So that means that the moral value is equally important as to what they said previously. So once again, we're going down the funnel, and this paragraph is going to be narrow as well. Let's go down a little bit further and see where we're at. When you look at the final paragraph here, paragraph number 5, it says, and as sustainable agriculture becomes more widely recognized, blah, 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 the Three Sisters provides one example. This is very narrow, and this is a very good conclusion paragraph because we had already talked about sustainable agriculture, and it also talked about the definition of what the Three Sisters meant. So if you look at your answer choices, you see that should be no change. Paragraph number 1 is the most broad and therefore should be at the topic sentence, paragraph number 1. As you go down progressively, think of a funnel. Envision each paragraph, topic sentence going down. Which one is more narrow? Which one is more broad? 45, the correct answer therefore will be answer choice A. Test 68A, English practice problem number 46. In problem 46, we will use the razor blade technique. Remember, the razor blade technique says short, simple answer choices. Get rid of redundancy. You don't have to have long information. If words are repeated If you can say it shorter, the better. Let's go ahead and take a look at the answers. Answer choice F. F, there is a period here, which means that theoretically there should be a complete sentence here and a complete sentence all the way down to the bottom. The trick on this one is the first part. It was 1948. In order to have a complete sentence, you have to have a noun and you have to have a verb. The noun in this sentence is the word it. It's not the greatest noun. It's considered a hazy pronoun. Nevertheless, it's still a noun, and it still will work. The verb is was. 1948. It will be a complete sentence. Short, simple choices. Therefore, answer choice F, based upon the razor blade, will be the correct answer. Let's look at the other answers to see why they're wrong. G, there is a comma there. Let's read that sentence. It was 1948, comma, a humanitarian and political drama of lasting importance was about to unfold. Blah, 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 blah. That is a long sentence and therefore a run-on. The trick here is two short sentences that are complete with a subject and verb on both sides are better than one long run-on. Run-on sentence, cross it out. The same logic can be applied to answer choice H. H is another long run-on sentence. If you look at J, J is incomplete because of the word but. The word but is known as a structural clue, or flip-flopper as you've learned in class. That means on the left-hand side of the sentence, you will have something that will be opposite of what's on the right. I like to use the plus-minus rule or good stinkiness. If it's positive on the left, then you see the word but, you know that what has to be on this side will be opposite the plus. In that case, it might be something negative, or negative going to something that would be positive. The word but is a structural clue or flip-flopper, which means the first part and the second part will be opposite. So if you put the word but here, that means in 1948, then it would say something about not being 1948 over here, and that never says anything. Therefore, the structural clue but is used incorrectly. J can be crossed out. Remember, razor blade, simple is best. The trick here, ACT tries to get you, is they use a hazy pronoun. F for 46. Test 68A, English practice problem number 47. In number 47, it states, which of the following alternatives to the underlined sentence would be least acceptable? Whenever you see the word least, not, or accept, make sure you go ahead and circle it in your booklet. That will remind you you're looking for an answer choice that does not work. The second thing is what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and find out what the main thing is in the sentence. A humanitarian and political drama. I chose to circle the word drama. That means that when you take your answer choices, you say the word drama, and then you plug your answer choices in, see how it sounds. We're looking for one that sounds the worst. Drama, take place. Drama, show up. Drama, to be played out, or drama, occur. Which one sounds weird using your ears? Remember, we simply circled a word, and then we took our answer choices and plugged them in next to that word. When you do that, drama showing up, it feels like that's just the wrong tone of the passage. It almost feels like it's just out of place. Therefore, using your ears, practice problem 47, the correct answer, therefore, will be B. Test 68A English practice problem number 48. Number 48, we're going to use the Formula B technique here. Let's go ahead and get started. At this point, the writer wishes to emphasize. Go ahead and circle this. Emphasize the massive effort put forth in this undertaking. Which of the following true statements best accomplishes this? We're looking to emphasize what words are going to be very, very descriptive, almost make it visual for you, to talk about a massive effort. Let's look at the answers here. Answer choice F says, U.S. President Harry Truman made the decision to carry out this operation, which was led by General William Turner. That doesn't say anything about a massive effort. It just talks about the effort, but it doesn't show you a massive effort. Therefore, F can be crossed out. Remember, emphasizing something, you almost want to make it visual, specific. Let's go ahead and look at G. Planes flew into Berlin from West Germany at regular intervals throughout each day. That is a little bit better, but still not very descriptive. It just talks about planes flying. Put a dot by it. H. H says, humanitarian work often goes unnoticed, even though it saves thousands of lives every year, many countries throughout the world. It doesn't talk about a massive effort, and therefore is going to be off topic. Remember, we're talking about the operation. Let's take a look at J. J says, before this operation was over, hundreds of planes and thousands of soldiers delivered millions of pounds of food to people in need. That shows you a massive effort with thousands, with hundreds, and with millions. That sounds like a massive effort, and therefore J is the correct answer. Remember, you'll see this over and over and over on test day, emphasizing. You want to make sure you make it visual and be specific. 48, therefore, the correct answer will be J. Test 68A English practice problem number 49. Problem number 49, we will use the structural clues technique. Let's go ahead and read the question. Which one of the following alternatives to the underlined portion would not be acceptable? Remember, whenever you see the word not, except, or least, circle that because you're looking for an answer choice that will not work when you check all of the answer choices. Let's do a quick review of structural clues. Structural clues are words that suggest a change in the writing. There will be the first part of the sentence, there will be the structural clue word, and there will be the second part of the sentence. A word, for example, like the word but. The word but suggests a change. We'll say something here, and then we will say the opposite of something we just said in the next part. Jimmy got an A in chemistry class. That sounds positive. We'll put a plus there. Now you see the word but, you know that what's on the other side here has to be something that is negative. But is a D student overall. The word but is a structural clue that means the first part of the sentence and the second part of the sentence will be opposite of each other. Another form of a structural clue is a structural clue that will go together. You should either label the question, first part and the second part, together or opposite. A structural clue that would be together would be something like this. I like junk food. For example, I like hamburgers. Junk food and hamburgers are going in the same direction. It's an example. Together or opposite is how we should label the structural clues. Once we do that, we should read the first part of the sentence here, and then we should read the second part of the sentence and see how they're related. First thing we want to do in the questions here in the the answer choices is label the structural clues. On the other hand is a structural clue that means opposite. Answer choice B has a structural clue that says, for example, and we've seen this before, for example is a structural clue that will be together. They're going in the same direction. C has a structural clue that says the word but. We've seen this earlier. It's a structural clue that means opposite. And answer choice D says in contrast. In contrast is a structural clue that will be opposite. So in summarization, we have A is opposite, B together, C and D are both opposite structural clues. We already know what the answer is. The answer must be answer choice B. That's the only one that does something different and therefore will not be acceptable. Let's go back up and see this in action as we read the first and the second part of the sentence. The United States, Great Britain, and France had combined their portions in the West Germany while the Soviet Union had installed a separate government in the East Germany. So we know that we have the United States, Great Britain in West Germany over here, and then we have the Soviet Union in East Germany. East Germany and West Germany are going to be opposite of each other. So therefore, all the answer choices that are correctly used will use a structural clue that will be opposite. Remember, we're looking for a structural clue that is not correct. A is correct, C is correct, and D is correct. Therefore, the only answer choice we have left is B. Remember, structural clues, first of all, when you see them in the answer choices, label them together or opposite, and then go back into the sentence, read the first part, and compare it to the second part, and ask yourself, are these parts of the sentence going in the same direction together, or are they opposite of each other? Practice problem 49B. Test 68A, English practice problem number 50. In number 50, we'll use the Mr. Chung rule. Let's go ahead and do an overview of the Mr. Chung rule. Mr. Chung looks like this. It's a person. He has two eyes, a nose, and he has a mouth. Remember, what's between Mr. Chung's eyes, nose, and mouth all do the same thing. This is called dashes. This is called two commas or a comma splice, and these are brackets or parentheses. What's between the commas, the dashes, and the parentheses is non-essential information. It's extra. Non-essential. Please remember this. It's very important. If it's non-essential, that means that we can cross it out. So, what's between the dashes, comma splice, or brackets is non-essential. Let's go ahead, jump on in, and start working with problem 50, answer choice F. If you look here, there's a dash here, but on the other end, there's a comma. Dashes and commas will not be used together. Therefore, F will be crossed out. G, there's a comma after Berlin and a comma after Germany. That reminds me, two commas reminds me of Mr. Chung's nose. What's between his nose is non-essential information and therefore can be crossed out. Let's go ahead and do that. That means if it's non-essential, we can go ahead and read from the beginning of the sentence, cut this out, and read to the end, and it should still be a complete sentence. Let's try it. Berlin was similarly divided into 4 sectors. That is a complete sentence, and that still will work. Notice that the parentheses, the brackets, and the dashes are non-essential information. In this sentence, the capital of Germany is non-essential information to the sentence. It only gives you more information about the main subject of Berlin, and therefore, once again, is non-essential. G will be the correct answer using the Mr. Chung rule. Remember, dashes, comma splice, and parentheses are all used in the same way. The way you can remember this is just remember Mr. Chung's face. Answer choice H is incorrect for the same logic as answer choice F. There's a comma here, and then there's a dash. It's just flipped around from what you see in F. J is incorrect because there is no commas there. That means you have to read from the beginning of this sentence to the end and see if you naturally want to take a break. If you feel like you're starting to get out of breath, that tells you there needs to be some type of punctuation in there. Go ahead, try this on your own and see that you naturally feel like you should take a breath somewhere in that sentence. 50, therefore, using Mr. Chung, will be answer choice G. Test 68A, English practice problem number 51. In 51, we'll use two rules here. Let's start off with the CARS rule. Quick overview of the CARS rule. There's two steps. The first step is to talk about the mini name tag. The mini name tag is an apostrophe. Remember, an apostrophe looks like a mini name tag. If you come over here and we were to take this mini name tag over here, blow it up, it would probably look like something like this. If we turned it sideways, it would look like a name tag. Name tags are used to show possession. If I were to write my name on this mini name tag and put this on the inside of my backpack, everyone would know that my backpack is owned by Thomas because Thomas's name is on there. It's ownership. Anytime you see that, it tells you there's possession or ownership. All of the answer choices A through D have a mini name tag. Notice I'm underlining each one. Step number 2 is called the finger rule. The finger rule basically says this. Whenever you see a mini name tag, you want to take your finger and go ahead and put it over the mini name tag. Then ask yourself what you see on the left. Is there one or more than one? If you come over here, if I were to cover this up with my finger, the mini name tag, and look to the left right here, I see city. That tells me that there is one city. If I were to come over here, put my finger over the mini name tag and look to the left, I see it says cities. That means there's more than one city. That's the finger rule using the mini name tag. Now, once you do that, you have to ask yourself, if there is a mini name tag, that means that what's on the left here, the mini, will own or possess what's on the right side. So let's see if there's possession. Does a city own or possess its own location? Yes, it does. So that tells us we do need a mini name tag. Now what we need to do is we need to go back into the rest of the sentence, back into the rest of the passage, and find out, are they talking about one or are they talking about more than one city? If you come over here and look, it talks about Berlin. Berlin is one city. So that means answer choice C and D can be crossed out because it says cities. Remember, cover up the mini name tag, look to the left, and you'll see that there's more than one city, and therefore C and D can be crossed out because this is called plural possession. We're left with answer choice A and B. Now we'll convert over to the Gibbs rule. The Gibbs rule says this. Read to the comma and then stop. Ask yourself if there's enough information. If it doesn't feel like there's enough information and you're left hanging, you know that that's not a good place for a comma. Let's go ahead and read from the beginning of the sentence until we hit location. In the sentence is here. However, the city's location, city's location where? City's location what? The city's location who? I don't really know what they're talking about. That's not a complete idea, and therefore it will violate the Gibbs rule. Remember, Gibbs says read to the comma and stop. We do not need a comma here, therefore. Let's go ahead, plug in answer choice A. It says location with no comma. However, the city's location deep inside East Germany. Location is where? It's deep inside East Germany. Therefore, location and deep inside East Germany need to go together. Think of the Gibbs rule as this. When you stop at the comma, you have one idea, and then on the other side of the comma, there should be something new, a new separate idea. Location and deep inside East Germany should go together. You don't need to separate those. Therefore, A will be correct using not only the Carr's rule, but the Gibbs theorem as well. 51A. Test 68A, English practice problem number 52. 52 will use the Formula B technique, which deals with one particular paragraph. In the question stem here, we're trying to make a transition between the first part and the last part of this particular paragraph. That means that this part of the paragraph and the second part of the paragraph, we need to have something that fills the gap in between them. The first part of the paragraph talks about Berlin being divided into 4 sectors, and that is in East Germany. Joseph Stalin wants to do that. Then in the second part, it says he cut off all ground access into West Berlin. Who is he? He is Joseph Stalin. So we're going to need to find out how Joseph Stalin cut off ground access into Berlin when they were trying to divide it into 4 sectors. Let's go ahead and take a look at the answer choices. Answer choice F. F says Stalin planned to use tactic of warfare dating back to medieval times. That is a way he used to cut off the ground forces. Put a dot by it. Answer choice G. G says had met with leaders of the United States and Britain to divide the post-war world. That doesn't say how Stalin cut off ground forces when he was trying to take over Berlin. So G will be incorrect. Answer choice H. H says first came to power when he became Secretary General of the Communist Party in 1922. That just talks about Joseph Stalin. That doesn't make a transition between the way that he cut off ground forces when he was trying to take over Berlin. H will be incorrect. J says Stalin adopted the name Stalin, which means blah, 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 blah. That just talks about Stalin. That doesn't talk about him cutting off ground forces. The better answer choice in this particular problem will be F, because it says cut off ground access, and the way that he did that is by using tactical warfare that dates back to medieval times. And he was doing that in regards to trying to take over Berlin. 52F. Test 68A, English practice problem number 53. In 53, we'll use the Mr. Chung rule. Let's go ahead and do a quick overview of Mr. Chung. Mr. Chung's face looks like this. There's 2 eyes or 2 dashes. His nose is 2 commas, and his mouth is 2 sets of parentheses. What's between the dashes, the commas, and the parentheses is non-essential information. It's extra. It's not needed. It's called a parenthetical statement. For our purposes on ACT, whenever you see 2 dashes, 2 commas, or 2 parentheses, take your pen or pencil and go ahead and cross out what's in between. Then we'll read from the beginning of the sentence to the end. If it's used correctly, it should still be a correct sentence. It should have a subject and a verb, and it should sound okay. Answer choice D, there's a comma after Berlin and after thought. Let's go ahead and cross that out. We're going to read from the beginning of the sentence all the way to the end, and cross out what's in that parenthetical statement. In this case, it's Mr. Chung's nose, what's between his nose, or a comma splice. Let's go ahead and read it. Threatening to starve the 2.5 million residents of West Berlin might force the other 3 countries to cede the whole city to him. It's still a complete sentence. It still works. And notice that the words in between the comma splice here, he thought what? Who thought that? Who thought that is Stalin, which is coming from just above here. So we don't need that. That's extra information. Therefore, Mr. Chung will be the correct usage in problem number 53, and that will lead us to answer choice D. Test 68A, English practice problem number 54. 54 is called a sense question. S-E-N-S-E. Basically, what you want to do is you want to take this underlined portion and you're going to move it around. So here's what I do. The tip is this. Say the word, then say on ground transportation, see how it sounds. So, for example, we have Stalin's antagonists on ground transportation. Okay, remember, take the word and then take the underlined portion, say the word, and then say what comes after that. This will be modifying this part or giving you more information. Let's take a look at G. We're going to say after rely. Rely on ground transportation. That sounds better. Let's take a look at H, the word food. Food on ground transportation. That sounds weird. And J is the word Berlin. Berlin on ground transportation. That sounds weird too. Let's go back to F. Stalin's antagonists on ground transportation, or rely on ground transportation. Which one sounds better to you when you take the underlined portion and place it after one of those words? Obviously, you see G is the correct answer when you use your ears. Remember, the underlined portion, you just say the word and then put that word in there, because this part that's underlined is modifying or adding to more information about what you're talking about in the words just before that. 54, therefore, using the sense technique, G is the answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 55. 55, we'll go ahead and use the razor blade technique here. A couple things to mention before we get started. Kids, notice that there's a huge gap in here. To me, I'm like scratching my head going, what? I would never do that. Would you ever do that? No, you wouldn't. You know why? Look at this. Wait, this is one sentence and then it continues down here, but this is Berlin, it's capitalized. It almost feels like it's a new paragraph. It almost feels like it's a new sentence, but it's not. Why in the world would ACT do that? Let me tell you why. You know why they do it? Because they want to. They want to because it throws you off your game. You're scratching your head, trying to wait, what's going on? Why did they do that? I don't get it. I've never seen that before. It's just making you confused. So, bear in mind that when you see something like this, practice with the genius technique of Professor Thomas. You'll see all these things and idiosyncrasies with ACT that you've never seen in school. Just be aware of it and don't give it any more thought into it. Just correct the sentence. Here's how you correct the sentence. You read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence. Now notice, you see this is a long piece of writing here, and we're thinking razor blade. Razor blade says short and simple. 2 short sentences are better than 1 long run-on. So right away my eyes are attracted to answer choice C. There's a period after date. Let's go in here and find where that would be. Here's the underlined portion, and then it would say date, so there would be a period right there. That means if this is correct, there should be a complete sentence on the first part and a complete sentence on the second part. Let's go ahead and get started. What resulted from this siege was one of the largest humanitarian efforts to date. That is a complete sentence. The second part starts off with pilots. Pilots who had bombed Berlin relentlessly during the war were now called upon to deliver food, Yettles, as a part of Berlin's airlift. That is a complete sentence as well. Therefore, two complete sentences are better than one long run-on. Right away, B is out. Right away, A is out. Answer choice D has a semicolon, which is two sentences related. You got to have a complete sentence on both sides, and they have to be related. Remember, you've learned with Professor Thomas that a dot comma looks like a banana and an orange. A banana and an orange are talking about the same things. They're both the same specifics of a general category. A banana and an orange both relate back to fruits at the top. That is not what you see here. They are not related sentences. The best choice, therefore, is 55. For 55 is answer choice C. Test 68A, English practice problem number 56. Problem number 56, we're going to use the adverb rule. An adverb, quick review, modifies the verb. Here's the sentence. The sentence starts off up here and goes all the way down here to the period at airlift. We'll go ahead and find out what the verb is associated with problem 56 and say the verb will modify using an ly ending. So what you can do is find the verb in the sentence, then look at the answer choices and say the verb along with the adverb and see how it sounds. Bombed, relentless, bombed, unrelented, bombed, unrelentless, or bombed relentlessly. You see how when you say the word that's the verb and you connect it right away without all this extra monkey business junk in here, you see right away by using your ears that J is the correct answer. Remember, adverbs will end in ly, and adverbs, the job is to modify the verb. 56, therefore, J is the correct answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 57. Number 57 will use the Mr. Chung rule. Let's go ahead and read the question stem. If the writer were to remove the word victuals and the surrounding punctuation from the preceding sentence, the essay would primarily lose. First of all, we're looking for the preceding sentence to number 57. Here's 57. The preceding sentence will be the sentence just before. Here is the area they're referring to. Notice that the word victuals, there's dashes around the word victuals. This reminds me of Mr. Chung. Let's do a quick overview of Mr. Chung. Mr. Chung's face, 2 dashes look like his eyes. 2 commas, a comma splice looks like his nose. And Mr. Chung's mouth is 2 parentheses. What's between The parentheses, the commas, and the dashes is all used the same way. It's non-essential information about the main subject. So we have to look just before that. The main subject here is the food delivery. So right away we know that it's extra non-essential information. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice D. D says it's irrelevant to the essay, nothing to do with it. It's wrong. Answer choice C says it's a detailed interjection and a serious note. That is incorrect as well. We're left with two choices. Answer choice A and B. B says it's specific information about the airplane's cargo. If I were to ask you what a victual is, would you know exactly what a victual is? A victual, I think, is some kind of food, but it's a very non-descriptive way of talking about food. So I don't think it's very specific at all. For me, right away, the word specific throws a warning signal out. I cross it out. Let's look at A for the better answer choice. It's an explanation of the name of the operation. And the name of the operation just so happens to be food delivery system here. You can find the exact name right below here because it says it in the next sentence, Operation Victuals, or if you look at the sentence just above, you will see it there again as well. 57, using Mr. Chung, A is the correct answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 58. 58, we're going to use the razor blade rule. A quick overview of the razor blade rule says simple is best. No need to be redundant, no need to be repetitive. Long sentences you should be wary of. Let's go ahead and look at the problem here. Always read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence. It looks like the sentence is already fairly long. If you look at answer choice no change, F, it says bugging and harassing. That is redundant, therefore it can be crossed out. They mean the same thing. Harassing in answer choice G and making extremely difficult, those are redundant as well. Also, it's the longest answer choice. Be skeptical. Answer choice H says difficult and challenging. Those are words that are repetitive. The better answer choice, therefore, is answer choice J, using the razor blade. Simple is best. No redundancy. Test 68A, English practice problem number 59. 59, we'll go ahead and use the Formula A technique and rearrange the paragraphs. Remember, when you're using Formula A and rearranging paragraphs, it's a good idea to envision a funnel. At the top of the funnel, it will be very, very broad. When you introduce your paragraph, topic sentence number 1 should be the most broad, and as you go down the funnel, you'll be going down in each separate paragraph, making more and more exact, more and more specific topic sentences as you go down towards the bottom of the essay. Remember, broad at the top and narrow as you go towards the bottom. Let's go back into the essay. First of all, we'll read the title, and then we'll take a look at paragraph topic sentence number 1 and start rearranging. Remember, the title is important. It says Operation Victuals. Topic sentence for paragraph number 1 is, it was 1948. A humanitarian and political drama of lasting importance was about to unfold. Here it's telling us that there's some kind of political and humanitarian effort that's going to happen after 1948. We're not really sure what that is, so this feels very, very loose at the top, very broad. Let's scan on down to paragraph topic sentence number 2 and see what happens. Do we get narrow or do we go the other direction and become more broad? Topic sentence number 2 says, since the end of World War II, 3 years earlier, the victorious Allies had divided and defeated Germany into 4 sectors. Now, this is giving you more information about the political and humanitarian effort that was about to unfold in 1948. So this comes down more narrow than paragraph number 2. So I still like paragraph number 1 as the most broad for the top of the funnel. When we go to paragraph number 3, you see that we start talking about Germany in regards to the capital. Now it's not just Germany, it's funneling down into Berlin. Once again, it's going in the correct direction. Broad at the top and progressively getting more and more narrow as we go down. Paragraph number 4 talks about Stalin's siege might have been successful in an era of castles and knights. Stalin is trying to overtake West Berlin. So in the beginning we have the political and humanitarian effort, then it talks about Germany, then it talks about Berlin, and now it talks about Stalin trying to take over Berlin. So once again you see we're going in the correct direction. Broad at the top and progressively getting more and more narrow as we're into paragraph 4. Let's go ahead and take a look at paragraph number 5 and see where we're at. Paragraph number 5 says the Soviets tried to thwart the operation by bugging pilots and blinding spotlights, blah, 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 blah. Well, the Soviets is a Scooby-Doo for Stalin because Stalin is the leader of the Soviet Union. So once again, we see that underneath Stalin are the Soviets. So it's more narrow. Paragraph number 5 is doing exactly what we expected a good passage to do. Start broad and then come down narrow. So when we look at our answer choices here, we're trying to take paragraph number 4 and place it in the correct place. We see that the best place for paragraph number 4 is where it is, because paragraph 4 talks about Stalin and 5 talks about the Soviets. Stalin, as we mentioned earlier, is the leader of the Soviet Union, and it therefore makes sense to keep the passage the way that it is. Remember, when you're doing Formula A questions, if you can envision a funnel, broad at the top and narrow as you go down towards the bottom, take each paragraph topic sentence, an imaginary, throw it into that funnel and see which one, where it should fall inside that funnel. There you have it, 59 using Formula A, the funnel technique. A is the correct answer. Test 68A English practice problem number 60. In practice problem 60, we're going to use the Formula A technique because this is a suppose question. Let's run through the steps that will get you to the correct answer. Step number 1, you want to find what's called the good stuff. The good stuff says this. In the question stem, you want to cross out all the stuff that's non-essential. You already know that when you see these suppose questions, that first sentence here, suppose the writer had intended to write a brief essay focusing on, that will be redundant in every single question. The second part here, it says, would this essay successfully accomplish that goal? That will be in every single question as well. So therefore, the good stuff now becomes this. Important humanitarian efforts during the period following World War II. You got the good stuff. Now number 2, you're going to take the good stuff and throw it into this question. The question says this: does this paragraph talk about, and now you throw your good stuff in at the end. Does this paragraph talk about a humanitarian effort during the period following World War II? Go back now in step number 3, read all your topic sentences. Once you read the topic sentence, you ask yourself the good stuff question. Does this paragraph talk about an important humanitarian effort during the period following World War II? Step number 4, after you've read your topic sentence, you're going to put either a yes or a no next to the topic sentence. Then you will move on to the next paragraph. Read the second paragraph topic sentence. Ask yourself, does this paragraph talk about an important humanitarian effort during the period following World War II? If it does, put a Y. If it doesn't, put an N. Then go to paragraph 3. Continue on all the way down until the end of the essay. When you do that, you will see that this whole passage does not talk about an important humanitarian effort following World War II. So that means that answer choice F and G can be crossed out right away. We're left with H and J. Let's go ahead and take a look at H. H says no because it only focuses on one example of a humanitarian program. That comes from paragraph number 1. Once you get it down to 2 correct answer choices, read both of them and then go back to your topic sentences, review your topic sentences to see which one is better. Let's take a look at J. No, because it devotes too much emphasis to World War II itself. That's off topic, and you'll see that right away when you reread your topic sentences after you've done the good stuff question and labeled it yes or no. Therefore, the correct answer for problem number 60 using Formula A, suppose question, will be answer choice H. Test 68A, English practice problem number 61. 61 will use several rules here. We'll use Gibbs and we'll use Mr. Chung. First of all, the Gibbs theorem. The Gibbs theorem says this: read to the comma and then stop. Ask yourself if that's enough information. Remember, you'll have one idea, a comma, and then you'll have another new separate idea. Let's go ahead, try answer choice A. There's a comma after philosopher. So in the rest of the sentence, I don't see another comma. So let's go ahead, read to the comma, and stop. The philosopher. The philosopher who? I don't know. So that tells me that this philosopher needs to go with the name. You can't just stop without enough information here. That violates Gibbs. Answer choice A will be incorrect. Take a look at practice problem, letter B. B, there's a comma after Mills. That means we read to the comma and stop. The philosopher, John Stuart Mills, yeah, what'd he do? That violates Gibbs as well. It's not enough information. It's not enough information on the first part, and on the second part, if you were to put a comma here, you don't know what he did. Wrote needs to go with John Stuart Mill. So B will be crossed out as well. Letter C is Mr. Chung. Let's do a quick review of Mr. Chung. Remember, Mr. Chung's face looks like this. 2 dashes for the eyes, 2 commas for the nose, and 2 parentheses for Mr. Chung's mouth. They're all used exactly the same way. What's between the dashes, what's between the commas, and what's between the brackets is non-essential information. And if it's non-essential information, you can cross it out. So that means if you came in here and you crossed it out, if you read from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence, it still would make sense. So let's go ahead and try that. The philosopher wrote that all good things which exist are fruits of originality. Okay? It seems like it's a halfway decent sentence, but the philosopher who? If you cut out John Stuart Mill, you don't know who the philosopher is. So that means that John Stuart Mill, between the commas, is actually essential information, and so you cannot put a comma splice between essential information. So Mr. Chung is violated there. Remember, what's between the brackets, what's between the commas and the dashes is non-essential information. When you cross it out, it's got to be non-essential information you read from the beginning to the end. Therefore, C is violated. Answer choice D is the correct answer, just no punctuation. 61, D is the correct answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 62. Number 62 states, which of the following alternatives to the underlined portion would not be acceptable? Remember, whenever you see the word not, least, or except, go ahead and circle it. That means the answer you're looking for will not work. There will be 3 answer choices that will work, that will sound okay, and 1 that will not. Since we're looking for the one that won't be acceptable, the correct answer, therefore, will be the one that does not work. It's important that you circle this word, otherwise you naturally have a tendency to go for the first answer choice that makes sense to you. The second thing that we're going to go ahead and use is the structural clues technique. Structural clues go like this. You'll have a sentence, you'll have a structural clue, and then you will have another part of the sentence. Okay? Let's go ahead and do a quick example here. Let's use the word but. So I like to label structural clues either together or opposite. The structural clue but is a structural clue that means opposite. Let's go ahead and do an example. Jimmy got an A in chemistry class. I like to use the plus-minus system. It sounds positive, but now you know that what's going to go on the other side of the word but has to be opposite. But he is a D student. Remember, the first part of the sentence is going to change into the second part of the sentence when you have structural clues that are opposite. An example of a together structural clue would be, for example. For example, you're going to have the first part of the sentence, the structural clue, for example, and then you will have the second part of the sentence. Both of these sentences will go in the same direction. Let's do another example. Susie is a good cook. That sounds positive. For example, she can make delicious pasta. Making delicious pasta is going in the same direction as being a good cook. You see how you can label your structural clues either together or opposite. Once again, I like using the plus-minus system. We're looking for a structural clue here. The first thing that we want to do is we're looking for one that's not acceptable. Let's go ahead and label these questions here. Answer choice S says nevertheless. Nevertheless is a structural clue that will be opposite. On the other hand, another one that's opposite. Instead and still, not real sure about those. So let's go ahead and hold off on those right away. Then what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the first part of the sentence, and then we're going to compare it to the second part of the sentence. And we're going to ask ourselves, do these parts of the sentence go in the same direction or are they opposite? Let's go ahead and start with the first part. The philosopher John Stuart Mill wrote, all good things which exist are fruits of originality. Everything that's any good is always derived from originality. Then we have the structural clue here. That sounds positive, by the way. Second part of the sentence says, Mills probably understood that the fact that no human invention is absolutely original. So you see how that would go in the opposite direction? Right away, we're looking for an answer choice that does not work. Answer choice F works because nevertheless is a structural clue that shifts from positive to negative or negative to positive. It's opposite. Answer choice G does the same thing. Positive to negative or negative to positive. Now we're left with answer choice H and we're left with answer choice J. Here it says no human invention is absolutely original, but maybe he's giving you a little hinge on maybe that it is kind of original, but maybe not 100% original. So we're not looking for something absolutely opposite here. So why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and take both of these answer choices here, plug them in, and see which one sounds better. The one that sounds better, we're going to go ahead and cross out. Let's start with answer choice H. The philosopher John Stuart Mill wrote, "All good things which exist are fruits of originality." Instead, Mills probably also understood, that feels weird when I read that just because I see the word also. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice J. Plug it in. The philosopher John Stuart Mill wrote, "All good things which exist are fruits of originality." Still, Mills probably also understood the fact that sounds better and that will work. Therefore, the best answer choice that does not work here is answer choice H. Using some structural clues, we went through a quick review. Using the structural clues, I use the plus-minus system and then together and opposite. It's very important that you read the first part of the sentence and the second part of the sentence and see how they're related back together. These problems are kind of a pain in the butt, but still doable. It just takes a little bit more work. 62, once again, the correct answer, H. Test 68A, English practice problem number 63. Number 63, we're going to go ahead and use the razor blade rule that says simple is best. Remember, simple short sentences are better than long run-on sentences. Don't be redundant, and whenever they ask you in letter D or letter J, the word delete or omit, let's go ahead and check those first. That means we're going to read from the beginning of the sentence all the way down to the end of the sentence and cross out or delete the underlined portion, and that means this area here. Let's go ahead, jump on in, start with answer choice D, delete. However, Mills probably also understood that no human invention is absolutely original. When you read from the beginning to the end of the sentence and delete the underlined portion, you still see it is a complete sentence. You still see that it makes sense. Therefore, it will be the correct answer using the razor blade. 63 is D. Test 68A, English, practice problem number 65. Number 65, we'll use the Formula B technique here. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following statement, or parenthetical statement here. Here it is, known as the Noether theorem, whoever that is. So should we add this down over here or not? Remember, the paragraph topic sentence is about Albert Einstein. So right away, when they start talking about somebody besides Einstein, I get skeptical. I don't think you should go ahead and add that in there. So right away, I'm going to cross that out. Let's do a quick review of why that is. Let's write a paragraph, everyone, kids. Paragraph, topic sentence, followed by details below. What's the job of a detail? You heard it before. Supports the topic sentence. So this theorem here, does that support Albert Einstein? No. This is already mentioned. It's previous knowledge that's in here. You don't really need to talk about this person twice. Therefore, answer choice A and B can be crossed out right away. Let's go ahead and take a look at C and D and see which one is a little bit better. No, because it merely restates information already in the passage that's provided here. And once again, You see it right there. That's the correct answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at D just for fun. No, because it fails to note that the theorem is in the field of mathematics. Well, you know, that's wrong here because it says it right there. So answer choice D is out right away. C is the better answer choice for 65 using formula B. How to write a paragraph. Test 68A, English practice problem number 66. 66, we'll use the tense rule here. That means we have to read from the beginning of the sentence here and find out what the tense is up here, and then match the underlined portion's tense to the rest of the sentence. If you look up here, the mathematical theorem that now bears her last name helped. This is past tense. So we have lay and lie. The second thing we can do is we can use our ears and see which one sounds better. Helped lie the foundation or helped lay the foundation. You see that when you say that, lay sounds better. So we can go ahead and we can cross out H by using our ears technique. And in answer choice F, you see lay again over here. So this is present tense. We can go ahead and cross that out because it doesn't match the past tense word helped. So F and G are out right away. So now we have lay the foundation on or lay the foundation for. Okay, laying a foundation on what? Let's go ahead and see what's going on. Quantum physics. So are we going to lay a foundation on quantum physics, or are we going to lay a foundation for quantum physics? And once again, you use your ears. You see that J is the better choice here. Just sounds better. It's the tense rule, but also you're going to use your ears. Problem 66 is J. Test 68A, English practice problem number 67. Number 67, we'll use two techniques here. The first thing we'll do is we'll check the word delete. Remember, razor blade says simple is best. Don't be redundant, and if you see the word omit or delete in answer choice D or in answer choice J, go ahead and check those first. That means read from the beginning of the sentence all the way to the end of the sentence and omit, take out the underlined sentence. Second thing we'll do is once we check that, we'll use our ears technique. Here's the trap. Here's the trick, kids. Problem 67 is located on the top of page 13. You have to go back to the beginning of the sentence and go back to page 12 at the bottom and start reading from the word she all the way up until the period after the word musical notes. Let's go ahead, check answer choice D, delete the underlined portion. Let's go ahead and get started. She used words not as representations of reality, but as pure forms. They were musical instruments. Representations are not musical instruments. So you can see that that makes no sense whatsoever. D will be incorrect when you go back to page number 12 and read from the beginning to the end using the razor blade technique. Check delete first. The next thing that we're going to convert over to is the technique called use your ears. What does that mean? That means read each answer choice and see which one sounds the best. Remember, a human being wrote this particular passage, and you are a human being yourself. So how do you, as a human, write sentences? You write them, and then you reread them, and you see how they sound to yourself. How many times have you, as a writer, went back and rewrote a sentence because it sounded weird. Think of it. That's what you do. So you know what? The writer of this particular passage probably did the same thing. If it sounds weird to you, it probably sounded weird to the author. So use your ears and see which one sounds the best. Let's go ahead and check answer choice A. Remember, the trap here is to read from the beginning to the end of the sentence. She used words not as a representation of reality, but as a pure form, as if they were musical instruments, musical notes. That sounds great to me because it says it's a representation, and as if is suggesting that they're not actually musical notes, that they're a representation of musical notes. That sounds the best so far. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice B. B says, she used words not as representations of reality, but as pure forms, as they were musical notes. That changes the meaning. Get rid of that one. Let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice C. It says, it was as though. She used words not as representations of reality, but as pure forms. It was as though they were musical notes. That one sounds okay, so put a dot by that. Now, if you got this problem wrong, think razor blade. Razor blade says simple is best. We've already cut out answer choice D because of razor blade. It doesn't make sense when we make it too short. So now we're down with answer choice A, which is 2 words, and answer choice C, which is 4 words. They both sound okay. A is the better choice because, number 1, it's shorter, and number 2, it sounds a little bit better. Therefore, problem number 67 uses the ears technique, and razor blade will be answer choice A. Test 68A, English practice problem number 68. In 68, we're going to go ahead and use what's called a hazy pronoun. Hazy pronouns are words that don't really refer to the main subject. Number 1 rule on ACT, whenever you see the word it is the number 1 hazy pronoun. And this ly ending will be for practice problem number 69, so please disregard that. Back to 68. 68, remember we always read from the beginning of the sentence starting with it all the way down here to painters. Plug in the underlined section here. Number 68, let's go ahead and start reading from the beginning of the sentence. Yet, as innovative as she was, borrowed from the world of visual arts. Who borrowed? Who? We're not really sure who did that. Who did it? I'm asking myself who. I need something in there that's going to give me a little bit more information as to what's going on here. Answer choice F, it's too hazy, you don't know who borrowed. In answer choice G, it says who borrowed. I'm not sure if that's going to work either. Answer choice H says she borrowed from the world. That relates back to what they're talking about in the sentence. Answer choice H is the correct answer, and let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice J just for fun. Yet, as innovative as she was, borrowing from the world of visual arts, particularly from the Cubist painters. Who was borrowing? You don't know. That's hazy as well. The correct answer, therefore, problem 68 is going to be answer choice H. Test 68A, English practice problem number 69. Problem number 69, we're going to use the adverb rule. Adverbs end in ly. Adverbs will modify the verb. Let's go back to the beginning of the sentence up here with the word yet all the way down to the period here at Cubists. Here is problem number 69. The first thing we need to do, whenever you see ly in the answer choice, they're asking you about adverbs. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go and find where the verb is. We go back to the beginning of the sentence. The verb or the action is borrowed. And remember, answer choice H was the correct answer here, so it's going to be she borrowed. Then what you want to do is you want to say, all right, the ly ending is going to modify the verb. So that means answer choice B is going to be out, no ly, and D will be out as well. Then it's down to A and C. Let's go ahead and read from the beginning of the sentence to the end, see which one sounds better using your ears. Yet, as innovative as she was, she borrowed from the world of visual arts, particularly from the Cubist painters. Answer choice A just has the word particularly. That sounds great to me. Let's go ahead and check answer choice C. Yet, as innovative as she was, she borrowed from the world of visual arts, in particularly from, that sounds weird. Sounds weird. Answer choice C will be out. Answer choice A is better. Now, if you got this problem wrong, what you can do is use your ears on this one. Let's just try answer choice B and see how that sounds. It's going to be most particular. Yet, as innovative as she was, she borrowed from the world of visual arts, most particular from Cubist painters. You see right away that that just sounds weird as well. With that same logic, you can cross out answer choice D using your ears. But remember, everyone, in ly endings are adverbs that modify the verb. So what you do is find the ly and then go back and look at your verb. There it is right there. 69, the correct answer therefore will be answer choice A. Test 68A English practice problem number 70. We'll use several rules here to derive the correct answer. The first one we will use is the dot dot. Quick review of the dot dot. Dot dot looks like a smashed equal sign. What's on the left of the dot dot will therefore equal what's on the right. 3 ways to use the dot dot or the colon. You have A, a list. You have B, an explanation. Or C, a direct quote with quotation marks. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what's on the right part of the dot dot, if it's one of those, list, explanation, or direct quote. Remember, we're always going to read from the beginning of the sentence, starting here with Stein. Stein remarked that she was doing in writing what Pablo Picasso was doing in painting. Now, if you were to put here after that, she remarked that, okay, that what? Does this equal that? There's no quotation marks. It almost feels like they're trying to make it sound like it's a quotation. There are no quotation marks. There is no explanation, and it's not a list of something. Therefore, answer choice G can be crossed out right away. Then we move on to the next rule. The next rule is the Gibbs theorem. The Gibbs theorem says this: read to the comma and then stop. Ask yourself if that's enough information. If it's enough information, then you can put a comma there. There should be one idea, a comma, and then there should be a second idea, something totally different. Remember, a comma is kind of like a fence. If you put a fence in between two pieces of property, you know that there's two pieces of property. If you take the fence out, you're not sure if it's one piece of property or two. So remember, commas have to separate things off. Let's go ahead and read to the comma and stop. In answer choice F, there's a comma after remark. Read to the comma and stop. Ask yourself if you know that's enough information. Stein remarked. Remarked what? We don't know. Remarked, this is what Stein remarked. You can't put a comma there. That's not enough information, and therefore it will violate Gibbs. Let's go ahead and take a look at H. There is a comma after the word that. Stein remarked that. That what? That violates Gibbs as well. go ahead and take a look at problem number 70. Answer choice J, there is no punctuation there. That means you just read from the beginning of the sentence to the end. Stein remarked that she was doing in writing what Pablo Picasso was doing in painting. Therefore, that is the correct answer. When in doubt, kids, and you are down to two choices and you absolutely are not sure what's going on, remember, razor blade rule says simple is best. No comma would be my better choice here, the one that I would guess with. If you're down to two choices and you're not sure, comma or no comma, and you have no idea, go with the no comma. You'll see that over and over and over, and test this for yourself as you do practice problems with the Junior Genius Mentoring Program. That's it. Problem number 70, the correct answer, therefore, will be J. Test 68A, English practice problem number 71. 71, we're going to use our ears technique, and we're going to match the sentence to the underlined portion. Use your ears. That means read it and see which one sounds a little bit better. Let's go ahead and take a look at practice problem 71. 71 is the underlined portion here. It's the word as. Remember, any English problem, whenever you correct a sentence, you have to read from the beginning of the sentence here, starting with the word it's, all the way to the end of the sentence here at the period where it says origin. It's often difficult to, it's important, trace an innovation as a single origin. To me, that sounds weird. Let's go ahead and cross that out. Second thing we're going to do is we see the word to. It's often difficult to trace an innovation to a single origin. That's the correct answer because the word to matches what we have in the sentence over here. Let's go ahead and use our ears and check and see why answer choice C is wrong. It is often difficult to trace an innovation through a single origin. You're tracing it through a single origin? No, you're trying to trace it back to the origin. C is wrong. It sounds weird. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last one. Answer choice D has the word into. It is often difficult to trace an innovation into a single origin. Sounds a little bit better, but the best answer by far is answer choice B using your ears technique. Also, in the sentence it says the word to. You basically want to match them up. 71, B is the correct answer. Test 68A, English practice problem number 72. 72 is considered a sense question. That means we're going to take the underlined portion and we're going to place it in different spots, see which one sounds the best. In this particular case here, we are looking for one that is not acceptable. Remember, quick tip, whenever you see the word not, least, or except, go ahead and circle it. That means you're looking for the answer choice that does not work. That means 3 answer choices will work and 1 will not. The one that we're looking for is the one that will not work. So the underlying portion for 72 here is in 1972. How I go ahead and use the sense question technique is this. I say who. Who in 1922? Did it emerge in 1922? That sounds fine to me. After the word life. Life in 1922? It seems weird. And after the word when in 1922, that sounds okay. And answer choice J says after the word California. What happened? It says Rosenfeld began selling his peanut butter in California in 1922. That sounds fine as well. The answer choice that is correct is the one that will not work, and answer choice G is the one that does not work. Let's go ahead and read the whole sentence and put in the word in 1922 after the word life. Let's go ahead and find life here. Read from the beginning of the sentence here, starting with modern, all the way up to the period where you see here in California. Modern peanut butter, with its smooth, creamy texture and long shelf life in 1922, emerged when Joseph Rosenfeld began selling his peanut butter in California. Right away you can see that that one will not work when you place in 1922 after the word life. Use your ears. Go ahead, take and place the underlined portion before or after where they tell you to do that. That's called a sense question. 72, the correct answer, G. Test 68A, English practice problem number 73. Number 73 is a Formula B question. If you look at Formula B questions, remember everything is based off of a paragraph. In the top of the paragraph here, we're going to have a topic sentence, and then below we'll have details that support back to the topic sentence. Let's look and see where 73 is coming from. 73 is down here, which is the body of the passage. The topic sentence is up here. Here is what problem 73 says. The writer is considering replacing the underlined word with the following phrase. First of all, let's go and find where 73 is. 73 is right here. The word they're going to replace is the word others. Now, they're going to replace it with something more specific. Details that give you specific stuff, specific people, specific cultures, Africans, Chinese, and the Incas. So here the topic sentence says this. It's often difficult to trace an innovation to a single origin. Then they start talking about people that made peanut butter and so forth. And then there's talking about this George Baylor Jr. sold peanut butter in early 1890s and others. The other people, more specificness, Africans, Chinese, and the Incas. Should you add this? Does this help support the fact that there is not a single place, a single origin of peanut butter creation? The answer is yes. So that means right away we can go ahead and cross out C, we can cross out D. The answer is either going to be A or B. Let's go ahead and take a look at both answers and see which one's better. Answer choice A says yes because it adds details that help support the claim made in the paragraph's opening sentence. Well, once again, that basically says exactly what we just said. Details support the topic sentence. So if you look back up here, that supports our topic sentence about nobody knowing where the origin of peanut butter came from. So that is the better choice. A is the correct answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at B just in case you got that one wrong. B says yes because it proves the paragraph's point that Baylor's peanut butter paste was appreciated by people around the world. Well, if you look at this, it's talking about Baylor here, but it says others. These are people that invented peanut butter, not that used Baylor's idea. You see how that's just a distortion off of what they're trying to say here. Remember, in Formula B is based off of a paragraph. We have a topic sentence in the top here, and then details below that go back and support the topic sentence. When you see rhetorical questions on ACT English like this, think of a paragraph and think of the little mini schematic drawing that you see me draw all the time. Paragraph, topic sentence followed by details. 73 using Formula B, the correct answer therefore will be answer choice A. Test 68A, English practice problem number 74. In 74, we're going to go ahead and use the Mr. Chung rule. Mr. Chung looks like this. Eyes, nose, and a mouth. Dashes, commas, and parentheses. Remember, what's between the dashes, the comma splice, and the brackets or parentheses is called non-essential information. And whenever we see stuff like this, what we can do is we can go ahead and take our pen or pencil and cross out what is in between. Then read from the beginning of the sentence to the end. It should still be a complete sentence. number one. And number two, what you're crossing out has to be non-essential information. Let's go up here to 74F. In 74F, that means no change. You see that there's a comma after the word that. But if you look in the non-underlined portion here, after originality, there's a comma there. That means that this is a comma splice right here. All of this. It reminds me of Mr. Chung's nose. What's between Mr. Chung's nose, between the commas, is non-essential information and can be crossed out. That means if this answer choice is correct, number one, we should be able to read from the beginning of the sentence all the way up to fellow utilitarian and to the end, and that should be a complete sentence. Let's go ahead and read it out loud and see how it sounds. Although Mill praised originality of fellow utilitarian philosopher Jeremy Bentham. That is a sentence fragment. It's not even a complete sentence when you do that, and therefore it violates Mr. Chung, it violates his nose, a comma splice. Let's go ahead and clear this out. We will go ahead and take a look at 74G. 74G, there is a comma after the word fellow. Let's go ahead and put it in there. Remember, there's a comma in the non-underlined portion here. We're going to cross out what's between the commas, read from the beginning to the end, and see if it's a complete sentence. Although Mill praised originality, utilitarian philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Incomplete sentence, therefore G can be crossed out as well. If you look over here in answer choice H, there's a comma after the word that. Let's go ahead and clear the screen. We'll place in our comma after the word that. And over here, there's a comma after the word philosopher. That means what's between all of this can be crossed out as well. Let's go ahead and read, see if it's a complete sentence. Although Mill praised originality, Jeremy Bentham, it's an incomplete sentence, and therefore can be crossed out as well. 74, therefore, will come down to answer choice J, no punctuation at all. Remember, kids, when you see commas, you should be thinking two things. Number one, Gibbs rule. The Gibbs rule says read to the comma and stop. But take a look and make sure that if you see other commas in the sentence, it might not be a Gibbs problem. It might be, in fact, a Mr. Chung rule. 74, therefore, is J using Mr. Chung. Test 68A, English practice problem number 75. Number 75, we're going to use the tense rule. First of all, we're going to read from the beginning of the sentence, start here with Mill, all the way to the end of the sentence here, and we are going to plug in the correct answer choice here. First things first, whenever you look at your answer choices here, you identify it's a tense rule problem right away because answer choice A says the word will, which is future tense. Answer choice B says argued, ed, which is past. C says argued, which is past. And answer choice D says argues, which is present tense. So we have to match the tense of the sentence with the surrounding area. Let's go ahead and read from the beginning of the sentence here. Mills, however, blank, people should seek the highest quality, not only quality of pleasure. Okay? So when we look at this sentence here, we say, okay, not really sure what's going on here, where that tense is. Let's go ahead and look at the sentence just before. It says, Mill and Bentham advocated ed. If you were to go back up here and read even further, it said that these guys were, this was happening around 1890 or so. So look in your page here, it says 1890. You know that therefore, that this underlined section here needs to be past tense because we're talking about something that's already happened, the origin of peanut butter. So right away, answer choice A says the word will, which is future tense. That doesn't match what we're talking about. That can be crossed out. Answer choice D says argues, which is present tense. That will be taken out right away. We're left with B and C. Let's go ahead and see which one sounds a little better. Argued that or argued with. Mill, however, argued that people should seek, or Mill argued with people that should seek. With or that? Which one sounds better? Obviously, it sounds, he argued that. He's saying that people should seek quality instead of quantity. He's making that statement. He's not arguing with people about that. He's basically stating that. 75, using the tense rule, therefore, will be answer choice B.